All right. Well, I still got to use the script because I'm not used to this yet. But welcome to the July 16th meeting of CB11's Executive Committee. My name is Adem Bria, and I'm the chair of the committee. This meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by Angel Muscane, our district manager and staff liaison to the committee. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participant's icon and you will find the raise hand function there. You should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. The chat should not be used to discuss or pose questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. We will now take attendance by roll call. Angel, please.
Committee members, when I call your name, please answer. Present. Jose Altamirano.
Present.
Adem Bria.
Present.
Rosa Diaz.
Present.
Drew Jones is excused. What's that? Sage Mason.
Present.
Nelson Rama.
Present.
Asher Rodriguez.
Present.
Xavier Santiago. Present. Derek Stampone.
Present.
Jason Villanueva. Candy Vivas Vasquez. We have four.
All right, thank you. We'll go to the adoption of the agenda. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there's no objection, we will adopt the agenda stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Any objections? Okay, seeing none, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. We'll now move to the meeting minutes. The minutes from our last meeting were distributed to committee members ahead of time by the board office. They are there. Yes, I is wondering. There is no objection. We will adopt the minutes from that meeting. Committee members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand to be recognized. Okay, seeing no objections, then the meeting minutes from last month's meeting have been adopted. The minutes of tonight's meeting are being taken by myself. And then announcements. Okay, anyone have any announcements? Of course, go ahead, Rosa.
Thank you. Just for everyone's awareness of everything, Africana Food Pantry is Wednesdays 8:30, Fridays 12:30, Saturdays at 11 a.m. Address is 160 East 120th Street. Please let us know if you have any questions. Africana at afri-kana.org. Also, bridging communities and cultures together. We're having a food pantry on Saturday, July 25th. I apologize. July 25th at the East Harlem Community Partnership, 71 East 111th Street. Again, if you have any questions, you can email ceo@bcctogether.org. And we are having Community Board 11, Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee. We're having our 5th community garden on July 25th, starting at 10 a.m. We are going to meet at Life Fire Community Garden, located at 2015 Lexington Avenue. If you have any questions, please email us at eosp@cb11m.org. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Asher?
LC's office, Councilman LC Vivanonstone, they are doing a back to school carnival on August. Sorry, I have it on the calendar. August 13th. They'll be giving away book bags and pizza. There's performances from different schools. It's really fun every year. The CBO I work for, we always bring kids there and they enjoy it. It's on 106th Street between 3rd and Lexington.
All right, thank you, Asher. Anybody else?
Summer rising's in effect, but there still is people moving off the wait list. So if anyone is on the anyone whose child is on the wait list for programs, just know they're starting to discharge kids who haven't shown up since the beginning. So check your My Schools portal to see if an offer has been extended.
Thank you. Keoka?
So yes, on July 22nd, the 25th precinct will be hosting Pizza with the Police. And we will, our goal is to bridge the gap between the community and law enforcement, because our community loves our officers. And so we want to make sure that we continue that. And then on August 4th, which is on a Tuesday, we are having National Night Out. It is a festival week where we come and join together and have some fun with our officers, because East Harlem in the 25th precinct, we love our officers. We appreciate them.
Okay, thank you.
What time?
All right, we're gonna have to move this quickly.
The location
Yeah.
and the time.
All right, give us a location. And remember, these will also go on in our newsletter. Go ahead.
So yeah, on Wednesday, July 22nd, it will be at Patsy's Pizza, located at 2287 First Avenue, on 118th Street. And National Night Out will be on 120th Street between 3rd and Lexington, which is in front of the infamous PS 007. And we're gonna have the most amazing time. Thank you.
Thank you. I have some comments about why the agenda is a little different than people may have thought, but I want to be mindful of your time, and I'm gonna maybe butcher this, but I'm gonna try my best, all right? So I'm honored to have the 13th Congressional District Democratic nominee, Darializa Avila Chevalier. Was okay, decent enough? All right, well, thank you so much for being here, really appreciate it. I wanna set some ground, just some rules for tonight. We hope you're gonna come back. We also have Zoom. We know you're gonna be, it's gonna be busy, but you're invited today to just introduce yourself. Tell us anything you'd like to share. And I ask that we're gonna keep it to 2 or 3 questions, but specifically based on what's spoken about tonight. There'll be opportunities to ask other questions, but this is more of just an introduction. All right, so the floor is yours. Do whatever you want. You can come sit here, whatever you want to do.
Hi, my name is Darializa. I am the Democratic nominee for Congress here in this district. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I, like so many folks in this district, have just felt abandoned by leadership for many years, right? And that's why I launched my campaign to make sure that we were delivering for the working class people of this community. I am a renter, like so many in this community, where 80% of us are renters, and I felt the squeeze. I had to ask myself, like so many, whether I can move forward to stay in the city of Tampa. And I think in a time where we are facing the onslaught of fascism, but at the top of our minds are having to also think about, can we even afford to feed our families? We need representation that's going to fight those two realities, right? Where we're facing a Trump administration that is attacking all of our institutions, while also the reality of, can we even stay in our communities? And I'm very excited to take this role on. I'm so honored to have been trusted by so many through this democratic process, and very excited to continue building with everyone in our district to make sure that folks feel seen and represented in this space. And that's why I think for so many of our vision of housing for all, making sure our tax dollars come back to our communities and investing in our wages and reforms, and making sure we're fighting for true immigration justice has really resonated with us. So very excited to be here, hearing from you guys directly about like what are the bread and butter issues that are impacting people in this part of the district, and making sure that we can just build trust in communities with issues.
Thank you. All right, as I said, we have a couple of questions or comments. We can also, I'm sure, send you questions and stuff in writing and have you back. So do I have any hands? All right, go ahead, Asher.
Hello, hi, I'm Asher. I'm the chair of the Youth and Education Committee on this community board. Nice to meet you. So my question is, a lot of our schools in this district are facing some major funding gaps and also enrollment gaps. We're having some major problems with enrollment, but it's also happening all across the city. How, from a congressional level, could you help bring funding to this district that is being lost due to lack of enrollment? Because just because some of our schools are under-enrolled doesn't mean that those kids don't need.
Asher, I don't want to cut you off, but what I said was keep it specific to the remarks that were made. If you have that question, because she didn't possibly, if you want to answer it, but I don't, okay. Want to reestablish what we, yeah, it's okay. I just wanted to reaffirm what we said.
One of the frameworks,
Okay.
but also platforms, right, of the planks of our campaign was about investing in our babies and our moms, right? And I think our budgets are moral documents. If we can say we value education, that we love our children, but if at the end of the day, we're constantly defunding those programs, right? Then the question is, where do our values actually lie? And I really believe that we're at a moment in our country where we can start taking on the funding that the war machine receives, right? And bringing that funding back into our communities. And one of, two of the things that are really important, I think, particularly in a district where childhood poverty is so pervasive, is making sure that we are putting money back in the pockets of parents with programs like the child tax credit that was proven to reduce childhood poverty to historic lows when it was implemented, and funding education, right? Making sure that every child has a dignified place to learn, regardless of their zip code. And that starts with making sure that our public schools are receiving the funding that they need and deserve. And in one of the most segregated school systems in the country, it's imperative that we're tackling that issue head on here. So it's a model for what education should be across the country. And we can do that, with not just bills, but also appropriation amendments, which is actually a very underutilized tool in Congress, and one that my team and I have been talking about the different ways that we can take on creative ways.
I'll take one more question. Go ahead, Xavier.
Thank you for attending. As someone who's raising fifth generation roots here in this community, so I'd also like to know how you work with your 400+ colleagues, presuming to be elected, that's to restore funding to NYCHA, where my dad grew up in living houses, because that is one of the deficits we have in the federal government, that how it breaks like that, the partners across the aisle to show we get funding on the House of Representatives.
Yeah, so I actually anticipate that this will be one of the big fights in session this coming cycle, and I'm really excited to be able to take that fight on. It's two-pronged approach here. For me, I think one of the visions that we have around public housing and reinvesting in it is a Green New Deal for public housing, and making sure that we are not only revitalizing NYCHA and giving it the upgrades it deserves, but also decarbonizing it. Because we know that there are disparate health impacts to folks in NYCHA. That climate resiliency or lack of climate resiliency that we have now has a disproportionate impact on NYCHA residents as well. And so if we are to fight for a Green New Deal model, we not only will get NYCHA repairs happening for NYCHA residents, but we'll also provide good union jobs to the tune of 300,000 union jobs that NYCHA residents would be able to benefit from and have a pathway towards middle class, right? And I know that in a Congress where it is so difficult to have bills, even as like exciting as a Green New Deal get passed, there are other tools in the toolbox that we can be using in that process, including these appropriation amendments to make sure that money is coming into the district and addressing these issues, looking at revenue streams from the federal level, but also state and city, where we can identify income sources to make these repairs happen in a timely way that is needed, and making sure that we are making sure that NYCHA is living up to what it was meant to be, which is a pathway to middle class, not a stepping stone to market rate housing, but communities, right, that people can actually raise their family and have a dignified place.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't hear an answer to the question of how she'll work with colleagues across the.
Oh, well, I'm willing to work with anybody who shares that vision and wants to fight to, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And remember, as I said,
Yeah.
we were supposed to stick to the question. So this is what we'll do. No more questions or comments tonight. What I'll ask the committee to do is if you have questions, send them to me in writing. I'll send them to you or your office, and you could do that and send them back. And then we'd love to have you back. And what we'll do next time is we'll send you, what we like to do is send the questions in advance, right? You could come prepared with answers and this and that, and, thoughtful answers. Because some of this stuff is hard to come off. I don't like having to do this. So I want to thank you so much for coming, and we hope to see you soon, and we'll get you over those questions. All right. Well, thank you. All right. Appreciate that. All right. Now I said I was just going to make a comment. So some of you may have heard that Nightingale was supposed to come tonight to speak about the community access for their. All right. I'll wait a minute.
Yeah.
And
Sir, Brian, never mind. Go ahead. But that was a nicer question. I see what's talking. I let that go. That's all. It's okay. That's a good conversation. No more though. No one else. All right. So thank you. No, and thank you for being here. All right. Quickly, Nightingale was supposed to be here. They're going to build. They are building a 64,000 square foot athletic facility between 108th Street, between Third and Lexington Avenue. They've gotten funding from NYC Bill through EDC. There was a public hearing. Apparently, no one knew about it. No one got a chance to attend the comment before this was happening. We've talked to EDC about our issues with clearly how public hearings happen. They've committed to doing that differently moving forward. I have yet to see that in writing or what that means, but we hope to get that soon. Nightingale couldn't make it tonight because one of their representatives had a personal matter, and they said it was essential that that member was here. So they will be coming back in September. But I did tell them they're expected to come in. They confirmed that they really will not be using the facility in the summer, which means there's 2 months open there. I proposed a program of about 40 to 50 hours a week for those 2 months minimum in the summer. And we sent them a list, which was put together by our Youth and Education Committee of organizations within the community that they could partner with. Oftentimes, the board has made these introductions and then not stayed in the loop or gotten reports on how those things have been happening, but we expect that to happen for any connections we make. So it's about 400 to 500 hours in the summer that we'd be asking for, which is 4 to 5 times what they're required to do. They want us to continue to propose things. I believe negotiating sometimes, you making the first offers at the best. I was willing to do that for the summer because I just asked for the whole thing. But for the school year, we will see what they're willing to offer. But my hope is that it's going to be substantially more, and the conversations have improved. And so I'm confident that there will be a very positive outcome for all parties involved. But that's a work in progress. And so now, one comment, Asher, and then we're going to move to our next.
Yeah, I know not everyone is able to attend the youth and education meetings. There's a lot of new members, so if you do have any suggestions, please send them to me. My email is youth_education@cb11m.org, and I'll forward it to them so that way when they come again, because I want the whole board to have a say.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Do you remember the original number of hours that they had initially proposed?
They didn't propose it. It was 100 hours, which is required because they got an NYC bill bond. Right. And 100 hours comes out to 2 hours a week. By the time the students that go in there and change or whatever, unless they're expected to go in their gym clothes from outside, they'll have to leave. Build NYC. Sorry. Thank you. It's like I haven't said it enough, right? But, okay. All right. So yeah. So it was 100. So I want to say I'm 99% sure we're going to get substantially more than that. Okay. And so we're going to move now to, this was an unexpected one and not very happy that we have to have this on the agenda tonight, but a presentation and discussion regarding the East River Esplanade, and we are joined by the EDC and the Department of Parks and Recreation. And if I get it wrong, you guys can correct me, but my understanding was up to this point recently, there was no funding still for 107th to 117th Street. Now come to my attention, and I think now it's there was funding for 94th to 107th and the pier. 94th and 95th Street, I mean, it's all connected, so it all matters, but that's out of our district. So 96 to 105th, I believe now does not have funding because the funding for that now needs to go to the pier because, well, it's not enough money to do that whole thing. So with that said, that's why we've invited parties in, because now what was half a mile that was not funded appears to be a mile. So with that said, EDC and Parks, you guys could take it from here, and then I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions about this. And if I had any of that wrong, let me know. So go ahead. What are you saying? Yeah.
We're trying to get the presentation.
Oh, okay. I'm just asking. Okay. Do they want to say it wrong? Ask them.
It's just a little trouble with presentation. She doesn't bother.
You're next. All right, move this along.
Yes. I think he's done with it. Yeah, I got marked.
I like that because they're here. It's okay. All right, we're just waiting for the presentation. Take your time. No, it's okay. It's all your fault.
It's not Madison's fault.
Sure.
But you sent it though.
Yeah, I sent it. Okay, you did get my
I did.
email.
I did.
Okay, I'm not lying. Okay, well, in the meantime, while we
I'm a witness.
figure this out, my name is Madison Hernandez. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Madison Hernandez. I'm with the NYC EDC relations team. I specifically cover Upper Manhattan and the Bronx. So nice to see folks who I haven't met before and good to see folks that I see. I'm here with a number of colleagues from EDC and NYC Parks. I'm multitasking, so excuse me. But in the interim, I'd love to introduce my colleagues from NYC EDC. We have folks from the Capital team.
My name is Len Greco. I'm a landscape architect. I'm a senior vice president in EDC's Capital Group. I'm here with online from Capital, Meredith Simon Pearson, who is waving at me now. And I'm not sure if Lena Fergus will know. Three of us from Capital. There are others from other departments as well.
I'm Rachel Aronson. I live in the neighborhood strategies team supporting on the overall East for Toledo. So very nice to see some from the I'll hand it over to the parks.
Yeah. Yes. Hi, I'm Sarah Nielsen. I'm from Parks in our planning unit. I've been at CB11 a bunch over the years, so some of you are very familiar. Hello. I've been working on waterfront projects here and elsewhere in the city for a long time. Good to Mara Larson.
Mara Larson, I'm acting deputy commissioner of environment and planning, and I'll pass it to.
Yeah, hey, Max Christine, a lot of you know me. I'm the chief of staff for Parks Manhattan. I'm also a landscape architect and arborist. I'm a member of Community Board 4, my home district.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Mary Eagley here, senior project planner with Parks Department. Presented on this project for, almost 5 years now, and I'm the city planner. Thank you for you all.
Okay, good timing. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to the community board for inviting us to talk about this really critical infrastructure project and one that has understandably a lot of community focus and advocacy tied to that we at the city recognize completely and appreciate the commitment of the advocates who are here and advocates who are online who have fought for this infrastructure project to go forward. And so we certainly, I want to say at the very top, don't take this lightly. And, you know, we want to share today, and I'll go through the agenda really quickly. Want to share a little bit about where we are in terms of projects that are currently in construction and talking about the Manhattan Greenwood Harlem River, the East River Esplanade Phase 2. And then give a status on some of the projects that are in progress and some new bumps that we found down the road and what we're here to talk with you tonight and some of the whisperings that have been going on over the last couple of days. And then we'll walk through some renderings that we have as well of the design of Bobby Wagner Walk. So really appreciate everybody's time again. I think it would be best if I actually defer to the chair about when it's most appropriate to do questions.
At the
There's
end.
a lot of technical information, so.
At the end.
At the end, okay, you've heard the chair. So thank you once again. And okay.
Hi, like I said, I'm Sarah Nielsen, and thanks so much for letting us come in tonight and for hearing us out. Do we have the next slide? Oh, sorry. I was just pressing here. So as most of you know, we've been working in the general CB11 vicinity on waterfront projects for quite a while. We've got quite a few projects going here, both new projects and also state of good repair fixes projects that are ongoing right now. So this is kind of showing the universe. We've got the project in construction, which I'll talk about in a second. And our goals here are really about increasing access to the waterfront in general and also fixing what's already there, which, as you know, has a lot of work to be done. So next slide. So I just want to talk about what's in construction right now. Many of you have been involved in the Manhattan Greenway Harlem River project. We did a concept plan years ago. It finally is in construction now. I saw many of you at the groundbreaking last fall. Super exciting. 7 acres of new parkland, waterfront parkland. It used to look like that picture on the left. It's just a dirt patch. They've done construction staging there for all of those Harlem River Drive and various on-ramp projects for a long time, decades in the making. And we all agreed that when those projects wrapped up, we would make a park here, and we're doing that. We're making good on that promise. It's a really, really big project. The whole entire waterfront is in bad shape, so we're reconstructing that whole stretch. And when you see those cranes, you can see them from down the block, or if you're going over the bridge on the rock side, you can see all the work happening there. So we are in construction. It'll probably wrap up in about 2029. So we've got a ways to go, but it's 7 acres of brand new work. I really appreciate the advocacy of the community board here for the new public restroom, which we were able to get funded. So that's actually happening, and we're folding it into this project. So that's going. So that's great. And then meanwhile, down a little bit further south from 114 to 117, Parks is leading on a project there to do Esplanade repairs in that three block stretch. They just started that construction this spring, and they'll probably finish up by the end of next year. It's a little bit of a less complicated project there. So those are 2 things that are currently underway. And now I'm going to give over to Len.
Great, thank you, Sarah. We can spin from the next slide.
Oh, wait, I was gonna do that
Oh,
one.
you were gonna
I
do that.
forgot, I'm
Okay.
sorry, folks, I was trying to my slides, apologies. Yes, so zooming out, we have been talking about this idea of going the whole way around Manhattan, right? 33 miles, the whole loop, for a long time. You all know the west side is complete. Over here, we have lots of jurisdictional challenges, bridges, various things going on, trying to find ways to do this. So there's a big commitment to fill in these gaps along the river, and these projects represent our commitment to that. There's funding for our project. It's 294 million. It's mostly city funding. There's a little bit of state funding as well. And the real goal here is, connecting these recreational facilities that we have, trying to gain that connection with the big project, the 7 acres. That's actually going to bring you from 145th all the way down to 53rd Street. So we do have this long stretch that's coming. And so right now we're just trying to keep the other assets in state of good repair so that connection remains open. I think that was all. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Great, thank you, Sarah. So the next slide. So the funding was allocated, the $294 million was allocated in 2021. In 2022, we hired a design team, Stantec, through a public request for proposals process and started the design process for the entire scope of work. So that would be from 94th to 107th Street, including the pier, and then from 117 to 124th, actually bridge. So the design for that is nearing completion. We should be done with the design for that entire stretch this fall. At the end of 2024, we put out an RFP and hired a construction manager, and they started working for us a little over a year ago in early 2025. And one of the things that we asked them to do right from the beginning was to start to look at the project from a constructability perspective and how we could build this thing. And we were largely concerned because we do a lot of waterfront work around the city, from the Battery all the way up to the north end. And we had been seeing over the years a lot of the construction costs were coming in very high for marine work, much higher than what we had originally anticipated. So we asked them to take a good look at this project and let us know what they thought from a constructability perspective, how this project could be built if we were going to be in budget. And so they did a series of sort of pre-bids with contractors to get a sense of what exactly we were looking at. And the contractors raised a couple of problems or a couple of hurdles on this particular site. that were really going to affect, the timeline for how, the project would be built. Time was, of course, money, and so it was labor and equipment costs. That was really kind of putting a lot of pressure on the budget. And so the two things that were really, that we were running up against was the proximity of the FDR drive. It's right there, right next to us. And so getting access to actually construct was going to be very difficult. DOT said that we would be allowed to close down one lane of the FDR drive, but only at night and on weekends, which means we'd have to mobilize and demobilize in order to do that. So that's helpful, but it's not really what we need. And so a large part, probably the overwhelming majority of the project is going to have to be constructed from the water side. Not too atypical. We do this often on waterfront projects, but what made it especially difficult here is that the water level or the mud line is very high. So the water is very shallow. So we can't get a barge in order to bring cranes and materials and things like that. So what's going to happen is that we actually have to build a temporary platform outside of the waterfront so that the contractors can work and build. So that's an added cost and added timeline there. The other component of the project that makes this a little bit difficult is that because the Harlem River Drive is so close, the structures for both the waterfront and the Harlem River Drive are interconnected. And so we have to be very careful that when we build our waterfront, that we're really separating our work from the Harlem River Drive, the FDR Drive, so that we don't undermine it or do anything that's going to affect that, and that we actually support that. So there's a lot of concern from the engineering and design side. These are, I'll just go say one last thing about this and then move on to the next phase. The entire waterfront there for Bobby Wagner Walk is an amalgam of a bunch of different types of old structures that were built over the past century. And so engineering standards have changed. We've gotten much more complicated and much more code compliant with what we're actually building here. So we're building a much more sturdy structure, steel where there's wood now, concrete to raise it up. So there's that. So to cut to what Sarah was talking about, the construction manager went through and said, we're going to have some problems doing the entire project with the budget that we have, the 294 million. So we started to focus on what could we actually build with the 294. And so that turns out to be, and we'll go into a little bit more detail, it'll be the entirety from 117 to 124. So that's a good long stretch there. And then we're going to rebuild the pier, which is sort of a marquee moment on the waterfront there. And there's some really nice renderings, which I think you probably have seen. The design hasn't changed much. And then we're going to do 105 to 107, including the pier. So those are the pieces of the project that we can get. And we think that they're really those are really substantive components. And there are three reasons why we chose those three components. The first is about connectivity. Sarah mentioned that we're in construction on the Manhattan Greenway north of the bridge. So from the bridge north, so that's from 125 to 132. Once we connected 132nd Street, there's existing parkland that takes us all the way up to 145th Street. So we have connectivity from 145th down to the bridge, and now including this project from there to 117, and then with Parks is completing 117 to 114. So we'll have connectivity from 114 all the way up to 145. So that was one major reason why we chose that northernmost section to prioritize the connectivity. The second is the reopening of the pier. We know the pier has been closed for a long time, and it's really been a focal point of the entire project. And it's a beautiful design. We really don't want to lose it. $10 million of the construction budget was allocated to the pier from the state. So we have to spend that there. So we really thought that was an important component. And it's really, I'm a landscape architect. I love the design of this pier. I love what they've come up with. And then the last piece of it, as you all well know, south of 105th, there have been a number of sinkholes that have appeared over the last 5 years or more. And so what part of the budget that we were proposing to take there is to fix and repair those sinkholes so that we can get rid of some of the fencing that's been blocking on areas of the site. Parks contractor right now is actually doing some of the work. So you've seen some of those sinkholes get repaired. Whatever Parks contractor can't complete in the future, when we get our contractors, our trade contracts on board, we'll just take up and do the rest of those. So those are the three main reasons why we have selected the areas for redevelopment. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is sort of a plan view of the entire project. just sort of putting a picture of the proverbial thousand words. And so everything in orange is what we've designed. So from 94th to 107th Street, including the pier, and then from 117th to 124th Street. And so what we're saying here is that we're going to be able to build 117 to 124th, and then we're going to do this section here of 107th Street to 107th Street with pier, and then there are various sinkholes along the way that are numbered there. So that's the basic project that we're proposing to build with the money that we have with 294 million that we have. Parks is completing 114 to 117. Now it should be done in a year. And then it is the 107 to 114 that is the next link in the chain that needs to be addressed from a design and construction perspective. Next slide. Again, this slide is to talk a little bit about the constraints that I touched on earlier. The width of the Esplanade is quite narrow. The FDR drive is right next to it. So the current Esplanade also isn't able to support heavy construction equipment in its deteriorated condition. So we actually have to do the work on the water. We've got to maintain traffic on the FDR drive, so we can only close it down for specific times in order to access the project site. So the large majority of the construction will have to be done from the water. And I talked a little bit about the requirement that we have to build a platform out on the water, a temporary platform out on the water in order to actually stage the construction because the mud line is so high in this particular location. Next slide, please. Sarah, did you want to talk about?
I'll fill you in about this aspect. So, you're probably wondering why we are doing these in these small chunks. The way she's like, yes, we are. The way that we've developed the priorities is based on condition. So there's a process that Parks and EPC have where someone goes out and does inspection reports of the structures. They check them out. How are they doing? And the ones that we've found over the years that were in the worst shape, we prioritize doing these from here. So that's how this is kind of going in this patchwork. The next one to come up is the section here between 107th and 114. Just got a new report back, and it does recommend a full reconstruction of that section as well. It's fine to go out there today, but it does recommend a full reconstruction. They gave us a cost estimate on that, but as Glenn was describing, the number that we get for the inspection report is sort of the first part of the total project cost, and then there's all this other work that needs to happen to bring it to the full. So right now we're in the process of digesting that report, trying to figure out what the full costs will be, and then we'll be pursuing funds for that. OMB is aware of this, our council, folks, everyone is aware that this is coming next, so it's on the radar screen. But that's the answer about sort of why there's that section in the middle.
We said a number.
We're actually hesitant to do that because we got a number, but we know it's gonna go quite a bit up once we get the construction pieces added to it.
Can we ask questions now? Or
There's a couple more slides.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna, well, let me think about that because, well, yeah, he doesn't raise his hand, yeah, I know, but, no, I wanna, I'll tell you why, because, there was I'm not saying all this is important, but there was a very specific reason we asked you guys to come in today. This presentation, a lot of this could have been made. I guess I do have a couple of questions, and we'll start asking them now. So 94th to 105th, am I understanding correctly, though, that besides fixing the sinkholes, there's not enough funding now, or there isn't funding to do the rest of the work that's what was asked, that's what we were told, and that's why you guys were invited here. And my concern now is we're getting a presentation on all of this that you were not coming to give us. We asked this question, and now we get this whole presentation. And then I'll ask another one. If that's true, then how are you going to get the money for 94th to 105th? When? How much is needed? And what conditions along south of 94th Street are like the conditions we have here? Is there any other part of the waterfront that is as bad as ours is?
So you're correct. We are not, as of now, the work that we're planning to do in this first phase of the project is the northern segment. We're gonna fix the sinkholes in 94th to 105th, so it can still function as a 3-way. been impassable for a while we work to answer that exact thing, how we're gonna get the money.
But didn't you have, I'm sorry to interrupt, because it's, I'm not talking about what was prioritized. I'm saying
Yeah.
our understanding was the only part that wasn't funded was 107th to 117th. Now there isn't all the funding there. I heard that the funding that was there for 94th, 107th, and the pier is now only enough to do 105th to 107th and the pier. So this isn't, if that's true, right, but now there's another almost half a mile stretch, so we have about a mile stretch now that's not funded. And so it's not about what you prioritize. The question is, now there's a half a mile, whether it was gonna be done before or after that was supposed to be funded, that isn't. And so the question is, how will that be funded? When will it be funded? And how much money is needed to fund that? Because now that is a priority. There's been this money here for a long time and we haven't seen anything happen. We've seen our neighbors down south, the west side. And this is the inequity of this community compared to the rest of the city can be seen driving up the FDR Drive or taking a bike ride, which, by the way, you have to stop at a certain point. Like when our neighbors below 96th Street come to run, they touch that gate, and they turn around and they run back. So this is what we want to hear. These are the, and then we'll ask other questions, but I think that's what you're here for. And then my other question is, how long did you guys know this?
I'll start with the context of why we told you all the other stuff, is because we've been working on this whole entire stretch for a really long time. I myself jogged up, touched that gate and turned around. The project 124th to 132nd will fix that condition, right? And that project is well on its way. We started coming here with that concept plan in 2018. Stuff takes time, it's super expensive. And I think what Len was explaining is that the reason this project, the cost has gone up so much is because it's an almost impossible construction site. There's as much land as this whole room where we could put a crane.
But wasn't it always that size when they funded it?
You know, exactly. And
So it didn't
this
change.
is what we've been learning from the started, and we're telling you, we've learned a lot as we've gone through this concept. So, but I hear your question is.
That actually was not any of my questions. So can you answer the ones I actually asked?
On getting the money, we're active conversations with electives, with OMB, with City Hall, and we're.
So time frame, amount, what is it? Okay, so more of the same that we got no answers. Okay. What conditions south of 94th Street along the East River reflect what the conditions we face are? Because I also think the fact that a lot of what's happening up here last is also things are getting more expensive and stuff. The longer this takes, the more money it costs, right? So isn't that happening too?
It's an issue, it's a risk.
Okay.
We fixed a bunch of sinkholes recently. I'm gonna forget the numbers, but those are in process already. Oh gosh, what about the marriage?
Sure.
We recently fixed, yeah.
Okay.
I got you all. We're all gonna be able to.
70th Street was recently fixed. There was a sinkhole at 74, 76. Soon they will be going into.
Good for them.
We're honest, we care about the whole city, but only care about really above 96th Street.
For conditions south of.
No, I know. I said, what conditions though? Not sinkholes. I go down there. That's south of Gracie Mansion. The rest of it's much more beautiful. I mean, we can agree on that, right? The rest of the East River is a lot nicer. We're getting discussion about sinkholes being fixed, and there might be holes developed everywhere. Are you telling me that 70th Street is in the same condition as the Esplanade is here in general?
To be honest, it's hard to know what you mean by condition. You mean.
Like, is it as nice? Is it lacking major funding for what's needed there? Does it not have funding for stretches of it that work needs to be done? Those are the questions.
Yeah, so the way we've allocated this work has been about these condition reports, so you're exactly right. Some of these, the condition of these structures is not good here, we're working to fix that.
How long have you guys known that there was no funding for this stretch now that we thought there was funding for?
As I mentioned, we had the construction manager on about a year ago to start to really look at this and talk to the construction contractors about how to build this section. We went through a value engineering exercise with OMB to try and where the OMB brings in a panel of experts from other parts of the city and the country. And they tried to help us figure out ways to save money on the project. There were some good suggestions from them, but nothing that was significant enough to really make a difference here. So We spent some time trying to figure out what we can do with the money we have, which is kind of why we wanted to also, yes, we're not doing 94th to 105th, but we are doing a significant piece. $294 million is I don't know, a big chunk of change. And as you said, we need to spend it sooner rather than later so that we buy as much as we can.
So you haven't been spending it that fast. It sounds like you've known this for quite some time, and we didn't find out from any of you. We found out from our council member. I'm just wondering, had I not invited you all here, when would we have actually been told this? Because we were sitting here thinking we only had a half a mile stretch that wasn't funded.
Come in about 2 more weeks, you know, we're just.
We don't meet in the summer, so you would have told us to meet in a couple, okay, that's interesting. Because I asked EDC about this at the last meeting we had, and they said they would come in September, and they made no mention of any of this. I asked for this general presentation, which would have been great, till we found out that there was actually major issues there. So it seems like we're not getting really any answers, so don't be disappointed if your questions don't get answered, but Xavier, Asher, Nilsa, and then Candy, and we'll go from there. Yeah, go ahead. We'll finish that, because I think their questions are not, unless are those slides gonna answer? I don't think they're gonna answer their questions, but we'll see. Let them go first. Xavier, go ahead.
So, thank you, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, and I think, Sarah, you and I did the walk down the pier, nearly 5 years ago. And I raised a lot of these issues, and when I met with EDC all the way downtown, I had asked their query to the head of EDC for a Delta construction project. And they said they would look into it. What I'm hearing from you now is that it took 5 years just to get a report. So I think my frustration here is the inefficiency of bureaucratic governance is really impacting us in an equitable fashion. Because we told you, like, here, we need that funding. We advocate, we have hard positions on it. And I understand escalating costs. So why wasn't anything on that level delivered from either party? Because this is something we could have collaborated and gotten done when we had the deputy speaker in office, when we had people who could actually get funding. Why wasn't this prioritized? And again, I come from outside of this. I'm a producer, so I have to know what my scale is. When I do a bond report and budgeting, I know what the highest level is going to be, and I know what the lowest level is going to be. We're in a war right now. I know what petroleum costs are in Ohio and North Dakota for film projects. It's so much simpler in construction. Okay, so I guess my question is, why wasn't this prepared? Why weren't we getting answers? And I hate to be this harsh. It's not my nature, but I do. You know, but I'm a little I'm a man who's experienced some very unreasonable things. I'm a reasonable man. And I think we are all reasonable people here in this room. So we just want accountability. And that's kind of it. So you can answer why we didn't get any kind of Delta construction budget, any kind of, it took 5 years to get a report. That's wasting tax dollars. So.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I will say that it takes a while to design projects, especially on the waterfront. Especially here, there had to be a lot of investigation of the existing conditions for a long time, and then the design process takes a while. We have to get through multiple agencies, multiple regulatory agencies. And as I said, it was about a year ago where we really started to recognize that this project was going to be significant in over budget because of the nature of the location and how difficult it's going to be to actually construct it. It's not that complicated to design. It's just that there's so much work that has to, with marine construction, all of the money goes underwater. And that's all having to be done from the water, from a platform, and those are the things that are really challenging.
And I appreciate that. Battery Park City, it's like we already have a model to understanding how it works. And this is basically a tidal river. So I just again, I'm lost on how that could not, like 5 years ago. Anyway, sorry,
Well, it's okay.
I apologize. This is my fault.
All right, I got all the hands. I see it. Asher.
I know Keel was leaving.
Oh, you're leaving? Okay, if you defer, go ahead, Keel. Go ahead.
Thank you for coming. However, I'm not looking for an answer to the question. I just want to put something in the brain power. You know, I think everyone's being nice in what they're saying, but I think that there's a racial inequity that we are experiencing. And I think that we need to put that on the table and let that be the forefront of your frontal lobe, because what we are dealing with is not just a beautiful esplanade, because we want it to be beautiful, we also want it to be safe. And so I think that what we need to look at is the fact that I walk the esplanade a lot. Well, I used to, I can't anymore right now, but it's can't go so far. the safety is a measure that we need to think about. And so if you guys are thinking just about the design and coming and, talking to the community as if this is, this is so great, I think you need to rethink about how you're presenting to the community who doesn't have a waterfront to even utilize, and not the waterfront that looks like below 96th Street, but the waterfront that's safe enough for us to even utilize it. And so I really think that that needs to be a new concept, and the way you come to us needs to really be presented in a way that you're thinking about us as the people, and that's all.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Alright, I have two funding questions. Number one, I bring this up every time y'all come, and I'm gonna bring it up even more now because you're requesting for more funding hypothetically requesting for more funding to finish the rest of this. On that here, you want for that to be a family-friendly space, there needs to be funding allocated for a bathroom. It is too far for any people to be bringing their families over there if there's no bathroom. It also makes it inaccessible. It makes it inaccessible because if you have no bathroom there, people can, there's people who just, I'm gonna say in the most bluntest way possible, can't hold it. Physically can't hold it. So that's gonna end up causing a lot of, people either not going there, it's not being utilized the way it should, or it's just gonna end up being a mess. Number two, back on accessibility. I know the 124th Street Bridge was being rebuilt to be wheelchair accessible. However, number one, is that still happening? Number two, currently, the only accessible point is from 96th Street. And I've walked my grandma over there when she was alive through there. That's a very dangerous street to cross. I remember there was talks at one point of maybe the 112th Street Bridge being rebuilt to be accessible because there was something about how it's the most easiest one because 103rd Street Bridge is a lot taller. So accessibility wise, is there any funding that is gonna be considered? Like you're gonna ask for funding for accessibility? And also that cuts off, also in terms of flow of traffic, if that part isn't funded to the north of where the pier is, that's not feasible. That's not safe. It doesn't really give much places for people to go, so.
It'll still be open, it's just the northern section won't be, it won't have been constructed.
Okay, so what is
Just
the,
to clarify that. Yeah.
okay, but also on accessibility, because I've walked through there, there's a lot of holes and stuff. You can't really get a wheelchair or walk through there. So even though the 124th Street Bridge is supposedly being rebuilt to be accessible, let's say that people don't want to cross that 96th Street, a whole bunch of cars going through there. They can't even walk up to the 124th Street Bridge because there's a whole bunch of holes there. That's dangerous. You're gonna end up with a lawsuit if someone falls over there.
So the TTA is building a new pedestrian bridge over the FDR Drive. Is it 117 or 117th Street, which is intended to be ADA accessible. So that's something we've been working with and coordinating. with them.
Okay, but once again, if you don't repair that walkway, how are people gonna get there? There's no point building an accessible bridge if no one can get to the accessible bridge.
Hey, Max again.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to say, you bring up a great point, and Manhattan, being like Harlem River is really special to us because there's a ground level entrance. So you actually go underneath Harlem River Drive, so it would be completely accessible, that section next to the public bathroom as well. So we're super excited about that part because unlike the other parts of the Esplanade, you could actually not go over a highway, you go underneath it.
Which part?
So Manhattan Greenway, Harlem River, where it's like what, 27, 24. So just think it's really exciting, but.
That still is about a mile walking to get to a bathroom.
That's right, I totally get it, but just another project that we're doing we're considering this accessibility, but I just want to mention to the chair too, it's very special that we have 7 acres of new parkland in Manhattan. We do not get this very often, and your community is one of the few in the entire borough that's actually getting new parkland in this area. 2029.
Chair, can I say something, because I can't.
Yeah, well, you were next anyway. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. Thank you for being here. The community board was the one that advocated for that parkland. Okay?
Yeah.
For at least a decade that I know. So we're not lucky we're getting anything. We have advocated because this community for too long does not get what it deserves. Now, in terms of 108 to 113, I live in 1199. my window oversees that pier. I've been living in 1199 for 40 years, and I can tell you that for decades, that area there from 108 to 113 has never been studied, and now it's being studied now. When I was the chair of this community board, Gail Brewer and I and others went down to advocate for money, and she was advocating for money. So it's troubling to me to know that something that should have been prioritized, because just by looking at the condition alone, you know that it needed work. Things were falling off the top. It had to be, cordoned off so no one can go there. I don't have a problem that other things are being prioritized. However, what needs to be prioritized in this community never is. I can't go to a bathroom on 124th underground to use a bathroom. That is not what Ashley was talking about. So to put something else, because we should be lucky that then we're on 108th Street and we use the 112th Street walk to go to FDR. So then my question is, if the money that was put for that, you thought, without talking to the community, to come to explain what the community thought, to at least get input, to pretend that you care, if you had come here, then I think there would not be such anger. Because I'm angry, because now I don't know when this is gonna get done because of all these structural problems. But hey, it was built at one time. Conditions deteriorate. It didn't deteriorate yesterday. We've been talking about this project for decades. And now it's like one stretch can't be done. It's just so funny to me that it's always the stretch that seems to be made in a place where a lot of these Harlemites want to go, that are around the NYCHA projects, that are around East River, that's around 1199, that's around Franklin Plaza. So when do those people get a nice, safe place? You don't know. You're telling me you don't know. You're telling me that I'm hearing this. Maybe I'm hearing wrong. At my age, sometimes I do. I don't hear anything from you. I'm glad that you're working on what you're working on. I'm glad that some things are getting done. Well, 114 to 117 is great, but it doesn't help 108 to 113. And if you just described from your own words the difficulty that it's gonna take and the conditions that are there, how could anybody think that that should stay like that? You all are engineers and you all have a lot of brain trust in the city. You have a lot of people you can tap. So to come here with no kind of, even if you don't have the money, but saying something like, well, we knew this was a problem. We tapped these people. There are different plans that could potentially, we may have to see what we can fund, but we're hearing nothing. So it's gonna be what, another 40 years? By the time you guys figure out how to fix this, I'll be dead. Great.
Well, Nilsa, was there, I know you asked one, but was there something specific you wanted to answer?
When do you anticipate prioritizing this piece that maybe have funding available, and because of the ease to transfer to somewhere else, to then give the community a supposed win? Where is the funds gonna come from this? Because I don't think you have an idea. You're advocating with the electeds, you say you're gonna advocate with the electeds, but you don't know where this money's gonna come from. So do you really think that this is a win when a stretch of the FDR is unusable? Because just because you can potentially walk on it doesn't mean it's safe, according to what you're saying. You can't even bring the right things to fix it. So pardon me if I seem excitable, but this is my community. I've lived here for 65 years. And I've looked out that, and the inequity is terrible, because I remember when fathers and to take their daughters and the sons of their families to fish off that pier. I won't eat that food, but that's what they do, right? So, yeah, you're gonna fix the pier, but then what? So we're gonna have this holistic wraparound kind of thing, except that one part is excluded. So I don't know where you're gonna get the funding. If you have an idea, that's my question. Because if this is already put back on the back burner again, then what are we talking about here? because monies were earmarked specifically for that in that area. And we're talking at least a 5-block stretch.
Okay, you have an answer to that question?
I mean, we're here to talk about getting started on the project and getting it moving, and that's what we intend to do. And we're gonna keep pushing to get the funding, and I know it's terrible news, and we don't like it either, so.
Can I just say one thing? I hope it doesn't feel like we're ignoring you guys as a community.
It doesn't,
Okay.
exactly.
No, that's great. It's good to hear because it's good, it is good to hear that you think like that because we are reconstructing East River Playground, which is probably 1 of 6 feet as well. We've got a lot of money to do that. We've got to go bathroom there. We have a lot of money for Marcus Garvey Park right now. We are trying our best. I totally understand your concerns. I totally get it. We have 2 park administrators that work in your district, one at Randall's Island, one at Marcus Garvey. We can always use more resources, obviously. Your concerns are very well taken. I truly understand what you're saying about the SPOT. But I want you to recognize what we are investing.
I recognize that.
Okay.
As I said, I was the chair here for
Oh,
4 years.
Nelson, but this conversation isn't about talking about any of those other things. We don't wanna like do this here.
Is that there is a look,
Yep, got it.
there's a look that this neighborhood is changing.
No, essentially can't.
And agencies are selectively doing what they feel they can do and do well, but it is not at what sometimes the community will prioritize. Your priorities and using your funds the best way you can doesn't always align with what other people feel. If there were people that for decades have been dreaming about using the field, well, the field is going to be fixed. But what about if they want to walk to join the other stretch on 117 that you're repairing? So then from 108 to 116 to 117, that's not gonna be repaired. If it's gonna be continuous, then, you know, the Second Avenue subway, we didn't get the Second Avenue subway for a long time because it had to join contiguous. So now it's joining contiguous. When they open, they're gonna open up the 3 stops, right?
Okay,
So that's what I'm saying, that picking and choosing and leaving a space out that joins both doesn't make sense to me.
all right, I'm gonna take a few more hands, but, I understand the frustration to vent. I do as well. I think they need to hear it. The expectation though is you'll come in September with actual answers and details, because that's what we're here for ultimately, right? We just want to see this done as soon as possible in the right way. But at the same time, they have the right to, and as do I, to say, oh, so we're gonna do Candy, Jose, Asher, and then if anybody in the public has a couple questions, so we can move. But you'll go, so we're gonna go in order. But you can still ask it after. Candy, go ahead.
You said 2018, you thought, this is when you discovered all this issue. You know that it's been more than 2018. I used to go to Benjamin Franklin before it became Math and Science. Okay, I used to walk there every single day, walk it all the way to Battery Park. So you cannot say that this is just something that just happened in 2018. We're talking about this been happening since 1998, 97. And all you guys kept doing was just putting a garbage can in the hole wherever the sinkhole was happening. Okay, because we used to walk all the way to the pier, all the way to the front, where the water is at. And now you can't even, nothing. I mean, this is so scary. Even when you're passing by in a car, you can still see the holes. You can't tell me that whatever was from 70th Street that you repaired, you could have used that same money and put it into East Harlem. Okay, because that's really like still stocking place. So you're really picking and choosing where you're actually putting your money. And actually, you're not putting our money in our best interest. So you can't say you don't know where the money's coming from. The same amount of money that you created for 70th Street, you can get it from here.
All right,
Just for here. This is the destiny.
thank you, Candy. I don't think there wasn't a question, right? Statement? It's okay, I just wanna make sure.
That's really frustrating to hear 2018.
Jose?
So you got funding in 2018, 2019?
No, she learned of it.
No,
2021 is when the funding.
2021 is when you got the funding.
Right, when we started design.
So then you started design, but then it took you 4 years to figure out that you were underfunded. When exactly did you realize that you were underfunded?
It was about a year ago when we started to talk with the construction manager about constructability, in light of the fact that so many of our waterfront projects have been coming in over budget.
So it was 4 years that it took you to figure that out. Okay, and you still don't know how much more?
No, but we want to get contractors on board for the other phase that we can.
I have a few questions. So the sinkhole patchwork, are you patching them, or is this, are you getting to the root problem of the same? Curious how this is working.
Problem.
Root
They
problem?
are fully designed for here. They're
Perfect. I love to hear that, thank you. One good thing you said, thank you, appreciate that. Was this budget priority sent to OMB? Has anything been sent to OMB yet?
Yeah, they know about it.
So you know about it?
Yeah.
When was
That's
it
not
sent to
the
them?
We talked about it with them.
It's been almost 2 years.
Yeah, they're aware.
So 2 years ago, but you just found out last, see, this gets confusing. Alright, so OMB has been aware of this for because see, we're finding out just now, so it's a little, you know, feels a certain kind of way. Alright, but, and then the issue is. Alright, we're all, like, we want this to happen, and the pier obviously is very important, but if the astronaut's falling into the water and we can't get access to the pier, it starts becoming an issue, like you're making certain part of it is nicer, but then most of the community won't be able to reach that part.
So the segments will be open and they're intent, like right now, you can't go on the pier, but you can go on the Esplanade. It needs a lot of work, but you can go on it. So what we're talking about is keeping them open and closing them when so the parks that are open right now would remain open until they're closed for reconstruction.
Right now it goes up to what part is it open?
114.
114th Street and stuff.
They're doing construction from 114 to 117 right now.
And who would be responsible for that section?
That's the Parks Department.
Parks Department. When does the Park Department intend to get to that? Is there a timeline?
Which next fall, next winter, the 114 to 117.
And then to connect from 114 down, for those repairs down to the pier.
That's the one that we need to get the estimate for, and that'll go into this whole discussion of getting these repairs made. And that's the one where we don't have a number right now, we can get to a more accurate number.
So it was 4 years to figure out that you didn't have enough money. 2 years before to tell the city you didn't have enough money. Okay, that's what, I just wanna make sure, like, we understand the timeline, because, you know, for us, this is not an acceptable. You know, this was earmarked, Diana Ayala was on, I think she was, you know, Elsie was on, everyone was on. Some of these questions are hers, some of them are mine, most of them are hers. And, you know, she's not, the way right now, otherwise, it'd be a very different meeting, but this is just, it's mind boggling. I understand that design takes time, but it gets to a point where like, it seems insulting. That's how the community's feeling. This is just insulting. You're telling me that you can't start repairing things as you're designing? It feels insulting. Ash, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna preface before what I'm about to say. I grew up here pretty much, I was born and raised here, my brother was born and raised here, my mom was born and raised here. My family has been here for a very, very long time. We grew up walking over there, my dad's here, he used to walk us over there and have us walk to the park. My mom and I used to walk my grandma over there to the park. And I work in schools and the kids they see their neighborhood. They see their neighborhood and they see how it's changing. I'm gonna straight up say it. And also, I feel like it's a smack to the face in the community. I feel like we need to do something about it, that this lower part, where some of those people from the Upper East Side have been creeping up and moving in here, is the part that got funded. No offense to anyone who has moved up here, but also it's the reality that families are getting pushed out because of stuff like this. And going back to what Nilsa said, the one main East Harlem part, where most of us who are from here are living, but the part that hasn't gotten funded is insulting. It's extremely insulting. So what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do? Because at this point, we're all asking questions and you're not answering. It's unacceptable. No bathrooms, nothing. It feels like you're just trying to make something look pretty to stop the complaints of people who just moved here. People should move here, yeah, but also it's become the part where none of us can live here anymore. Stuff gets prettied up and all of that, and nothing is given back to the community. It's not fair.
Okay.
That was my question. What are they gonna do about it?
You wanna just like ask the question in like one sentence now?
The question is, yes, what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do? What is the plan now to try to regain this funding? that
Oh,
mysteriously
We've asked that already. There is no answer yet. So that's the answer. Okay, so we're gonna take a few questions from the public. Before that, one question, the 10 million from the state for the pier, is there what's the time frame in which that has to be used or we lose it, I guess? So what is the time frame? The deadline?
I don't think there's any.
On that, that's the reason among many we decided to stop.
So there is a deadline? There is a deadline. Oh, no, because then I don't understand why it was urgent in the beginning of the meeting, so it might not be urgent if there is no deadline. Okay, so this is what we'll do. We'll take one more hand and then we're gonna go to the public. And I know there's been a lot, so what we're gonna do after this meeting is I'm gonna send you all an email with the questions. And then in September, you're gonna come back to this committee and we're gonna have some answers, like real answers. And so Sage, and then I'll take 2 or 3 hands in the public. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question of the calculation of the cost again. How much more than the $10 million that's required to be allocated to the pier does the pier renovation cost? Is it just $2 million or?
Oh, no, I don't have it.
Between 30 and 40.
Yeah, Meredith, if you're online, you can get that question. Do you know what the total budget of the pier is? I think it's in the $30 to $40 million range, right?
Relatively inexpensive compared to the rest of our project because it's gonna be a new structures. So the reason it's so expensive, and I'll just add some more color here. The platform from 96th Street up to about 105th was built in succession. Linda's getting at this, but I'll just reiterate it. It was built over many phases, over many years, and it's extremely complex to renovate that. So from a per linear foot basis, 96 up to 105th is very expensive to do renovation there. So the pier, you're actually getting a much better value because it's a full demolition and reconstruction. And when you reconstruct, it's just more efficient because of the materials. So that's why the pier is just wholesale better value per linear foot. And that 10 million is, I think, 30 or 40.
Okay, can I ask one quick follow-up?
Yeah.
Like an iterative process where you saw that it was going to go over budget, and then somebody maybe came up with like a design solution that would have just cost less, allowing you to complete the whole project but a little bit differently.
I don't know, I mean, certainly there's always an iterative solution, we're always gonna be looking at that, but there are just minimum costs, we're not gold plating this, I mean, this structure takes a lot of money, the steel that's going into this is significant. There isn't a way to minimize that from a safety perspective, so that when we're building this thing to last for the next 100 years, so that's, I think that's the reality of it.
So what was the minimum cost?
I guess I don't understand the question, but we have $294 million, so we're spreading that out as far as we can at this point. There's a proposal come to make you.
But Diana Yella said that last year she asked you about funding and she got nothing, like, and when she was still city council, she asked in that regard, and no one seemed to think that there was an issue. So this is where kind of the outrage stems. They're like, how's it possible that you didn't know? Or if you made a request 2 years ago and then you had the deputy, deputy speaker asking you if you needed funding and she got nothing.
Sorry, this is, I'm Marit Larson, and I'm very, connected with this community before, and I think it's really, moving and, intense to hear your comments. I just want to, reiterate the value engineering process that was the way that we went through last fall. And that was a whole period of several months where we're beginning to understand there was a problem, but similarly not having any answers and not being able to, come to really anyone and say this is what we need, because we're still in the process of trying to do what you were suggesting, find out if there were any engineering solutions and the technology that was. So it is a long drawn out process, but it is completely iterative to try to get at it. But I'll just add another complexity on the waterfront is, we are still in the process of trying to figure out what the costs are associated with wetlands mitigation, for example, just because we don't know how things are gonna be constructed until we get this far into design and construction, and then we don't know what our regulators are gonna require us to mitigate and how we can get that mitigation done elsewhere in the city. So just, again, adding a little bit of complexity.
Right, so we didn't hear from the state that we would need mitigation at all, which is money, until 6 months ago. So as we get further, there's more information we get from our regulators that says, okay, now you have to add additional costs. So I think, if I can just say, I think what I'm hearing is you would have liked an earlier warning that there was a problem, even if there weren't solutions. And I think what I'm hearing from my.
Of course.
So badly want to offer solutions when we have them. And the value engineering exercise is a fact-finding activity. And talking to OMB is an exercise that will hopefully get answers. And so there's a cautiousness in bringing anything without a solution. But what I'm hearing is it's better to hear that there's an issue, even if there isn't a solution necessarily in that moment.
I mean, I'm not saying you specifically, but I think it's the avoidance of having to come into rooms like this, why you didn't do that, not because you didn't come with a solution. I mean, I think people would want to know what's going on, right? If you were diagnosed with something and there was no cure, you'd still want to know what you had, right? So, I mean, I don't know anyone in the world who wouldn't want to know about a problem, even if there wasn't a solution. Because then you can't even start to think about the solutions. All right, Derek, last committee member, and then we'll take two hands, but we got to move it along. And they're coming back in September.
So more just, I guess, a couple statements, maybe I'll work a question in. I think it's clear that the value of this project is derived from like the whole thing being done, right? And we certainly understand that you can't just do it all at once or get it all done at once. But to have this substantial gap that doesn't have a plan to move forward, like it's like really, really, really frustrating. I'm sure you're frustrated by it as well. And as my esteemed colleagues over here have said, like, it's just, what conclusion can we draw other than the fact that we are East Harlem and not West Harlem as to why, you know, it went down this way. And that may not be true, and you may not feel that way, but you have to see where we're coming from when we see all these other projects happening in other parts of Manhattan, and they're getting done. And I think it's just like, it's really important to hear that, not just from someone who's been in this community for a very long time, someone who's a little bit newer to this community, but very much in tune with like, sort of like the history of what goes on here in East Harlem. The other thing I wanted to highlight is you mentioned some things about like an issue with the DOT saying you can only close down the FDR lane on nights and weekends, and how like that's going to have an added cost. Finding out from the state, from the regulators, like what's going to happen with the mitigation and not knowing about it. You know, we hear from the mayor, he speaks, you know, his whole thing about, I guess, his version of government inefficiency and wanting to address that. I think it's like really important to get all of you really smart people from all these different agencies together in a room, like actually hammer this stuff out. We're facing a crisis in the city that in many ways that will really only be addressed through building things, right? Like constructing things, fixing things. And it just seems like for this process to have gone as long as it did, it seems like something could be done differently. It doesn't really make sense that every single project constructed in New York City seems to cost more and take longer than anywhere else in the world. And again, there are complexities there. I'm not an expert, but I do understand that there are some. But it just feels like we could be doing it better, right? Because 294 million, that's a lot of money. And you would think, right, that it could cover this. Again, I'm not an expert. I can hear all the ways and why it's not going to, but like it sounds insane. And the last thing I want to say is like what Xavier brought up, you know, things only get more expensive. The Esplanade will only break down more. Like who knows what weather event could go on that would destroy even more of it. And that would cause us to cost even more. And so I think like the urgency of it as well, again, I'm not speaking to the urgency of the people in the room here, but it just seems like, wow, that is a really long time to be sitting on a lot of money and to have not done stuff like that. And again, I think it's something that needs to be studied and looked at, and maybe not operate within like the way things have always been done, and really try to think about how to do them differently. Because I think you have an administration willing to go along with that, in ways previous ones maybe didn't. So like, let's strike while the iron's hot and really try to change these things. East Harlem's going to transform a lot, right, in the next 10 to 20 years, right? So we should be leading the edge on this and not just, being blindsided by this. So I guess no questions, but some things for you to think about.
Okay, I'm gonna get to the public, but I first want to recognize, the former Deputy Speaker of the City Council, Diana. You're recognized. You can unmute yourself, I think. You should be able to. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, obviously, I am really devastated by this news. There are many people in this room that fought for many years to be able to get this funding, and it's been on record, I mean, for over 15, 20 years. The community board, the Friends of the Esplanade, my office. I was lucky enough, if that's what you would call it, to get a jail put in my district when I was a city council member. And because of those conversations, I had other conversations with the administration at the time about equity. And this was one of the projects that had been sitting, at OMB's desk for many years. And so as a compromise, one of the many that we were able to make, we were given the green light for the funds to move forward. That was maybe, I don't know, I would say 2020, so maybe 6 years ago since we had the conversation no, it had to be a little bit more. It was under the de Blasio administration. Either way, they gave us the money. We have been having conversations about the parts of the Esplanade that were not covered and trying to get a cost estimate as to how much exactly it is that would be needed to complete the entirety of the space. I've made many, many, many asks, and I have never, ever gotten an estimate. One of the things that I guess hasn't been mentioned here today that, that was brought up to me is that last year was the first time in several years that EDC had that area studied, just to determine feasibility, what the extent of the damage was. So I'm not sure what the difference is between what happened last year and what happened, originally that allowed for such a time, such a long time to pass before EDC was able to get engineers or, specialists to go under the water to determine like what the extent of the damage was. So I would love some clarity on that, and I would love by in September, hopefully we can get us a breakdown of how you intend to use the entirety of the 294, by line item. And I spoke to OMB, and OMB seemed to be really surprised about this, and I just spoke to them about it a couple of days ago because that's when I learned about it. So you mentioned that you have been having conversations with OMB, but have those conversations been about a specific dollar amount? Because if you're telling us you're going to take the 294, you're going to fix the pier, you're going to fix 2 blocks, are you also prepared to come and say, but in the next fiscal, process, we do have the next budget cycle, we do have an estimated number and a commitment from the administration to cover that? Or are we going to be left here, to kind of come up with a plan on our own yet again and have to start from the beginning begging for public dollars that should be put in without us having to even request it?
Are you able to address any of the questions or comments?
Just what we previously said is that we are committed to the project. We have been having conversations with OMB and with elected officials to continue to raise the need for additional funds for the project, and we'll continue to do that. It's a priority for us, especially.
And we're noting all of the questions that the former council member made in the email that I'll expect for September.
Sorry, before I get to the public, what level of accountability are you all held to? Because like in any private sector anywhere, there would be like serious consequences for people who were managing money and making decisions like this. It's like we're kind of relying on the same group and maybe a lot of the same people to now fix this, but it doesn't seem like there's any consequences for this except the ones that our community has to face. So I guess how can we be assured that that would be any different? Because, you guys just get to go, okay, we have no answers, we'll see what we can do. I mean, is that really it? That's all? I won't feel that good knowing that that's how it continues. Like, what performance metric, like what evaluation is there done on that? This was totally botched.
I just want to say, I hear your frustration. I will note that there's a $400 million project being constructed just north of this. That is a community-led project that we work with CB.
See, but you keep doing that. You keep talking about other things. We're just talking about this. Like, that's like if you tell me I fixed your bathroom, but we came to talk about the roof. Like, it's not like you keep deflecting. That's just gonna make us more angry. So we don't need to know about that. Because if you want to tell us all these great things, you would have come in yourself. But you're only doing that now because you got bought in about what's not being done. So that's, I won't ask anymore because clearly there are no answers to anything really tonight. So I'm I'll try to take all these hands, but we have nights away and I feel bad. Next time you guys will go in the beginning, I'm sorry. Kira, go ahead.
I'll be very fast. I think that the point that you made about the first part of the project from 96 to 105th being much more easier, reflected the actual root of the issue here, which is that there are historically set socioeconomic factors that are part of this project that weren't prioritized because of lack of historical or cultural knowledge of the area. And that's just the fact. You should have already known that there were socioeconomic factors. I don't have to explain what that means, right? No, okay. You should have already known that there were socioeconomic factors in place to where certain parts of the project, particularly ones that are in historically disparaged areas, like the ones that are now not having funding, should have been prioritized over ones closer to where funding is going to be easier. Because let's just be honest, it's much easier to get funding anywhere from 100 to 72nd than it is anywhere past that 90, anywhere past 100 now. It used to be 96. It's not anymore, right? So there's that. I think that moving forward, and then also just as like a community constituent who's been watching various projects in this district, like there's just been absolutely no care to those socioeconomic factors. It would seem as though there's great investment in projects that are going to feed like the incoming portion of people, right? Let's keep it a stack. This neighborhood, the property value is going to go up crazy in the next couple of years, and I think everyone in this room knows that. And there seems to be more care taken to meet the needs of that incoming class than there are for the native community. And that's what needs to be fixed, because it's not lost on me that there are also like projects here. Look, $400 million for the park on 125th to 132nd. That doesn't, I don't personally think that makes sense. I digress. My actual question is, given the fact that so much investment is being made in this community for the incoming class, what partnerships and what can be asked of those organizations and institutions and businesses, right, that are going to be making millions and let's keep it a stack, millions of dollars off our neighborhood. And not only that, they're getting tax cuts, they're getting a discount because they're ahead of the game. What can be asked of them to get this project done? Because the more this is waited on, this is going to become a socioeconomic crisis. I can see the think piece in the works. That's all.
There was a question. You needed to ask again, or you're just not able to answer it?
Can I speak to you more after the meeting?
Oh, I have to get home to my dog. And
Can I give you my phone number?
Here to answer.
Can I give my phone number?
I will give you my number, but I'd like the community and everyone on the cameras to hear an answer. Because honestly, I don't have a good relationship with any of these institutions. Like, it just seems as though, like, there's all this care for La Marqueta and, all these projects that are gonna look great, but what about the natives? What's going on? And it literally just looks like historical negligence, like cultural negligence. Like, are we doing our work to understand the communities that we're stepping into and we're developing into? Can that become a part of the work?
I was just gonna say, I don't have the answer. I'm just a civil servant, right? That's all I am. I was to explain how the process works if you want to talk on the phone. That's all. How funding happens, how money works.
But I want everyone to get there as well.
It's a very long answer.
Okay, so let's add it to, can we add that to September?
I'll be happy to come to some meeting and talk about how funding works.
Sure.
And honestly, you guys can do your budget question. I'll be happy to come back.
Okay.
No problem.
Sure.
But I want that question answered. I want to understand how we can, for all of these businesses that are going to be making tons of profit in this district who are investing in it now, I want to understand how equity can be made before this becomes a socio-economic crisis, so that we can get our stuff done and the natives can also get what we need.
Just remember, I'm neutral, I'm still a servant, I'm just explaining how the process works.
Okay.
That's what I'll do, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, just introduce yourselves. So We'll go right to left. Go ahead.
Kevin, I've grown up in the community my whole life. I'm a member of Civitas, civic organization. So in previous presentations from Parks we were shown that the sections that previously had funding, so below 107 and above 117, that those areas would be elevated between 2 and 3 feet. Is that still planned? Besides the sections that no longer have funding.
That's correct. Everything that we're touching is gonna be elevated. Yeah.
The other sections would be the same.
Well, they're at their current levels now. So if we find enough money to do everything, everything will be raised up to.
So right now, it's just above 117th Street.
And at 104, 105th, 107th. So where the pier area is, and then 117 to 124.
Okay. Next,
I have a clarifying question.
if you could just say your name and address. Yeah.
Alexander, I live on 115th Street the last 12 or 13 years. I went to school in Thompson, 15, and I'm a member of Civitas. The $290 million, if you could point to exactly to where it is currently being allocated in your proposal at this point, that would be, I think that would be helpful. We can understand, you know, right now, the way I take this from 105th to 107th Street, but it's not clear to me where the rest of it is going.
So it's the area 105th to 107th and the pier, and then from 117 north to 125th Street.
And so that's phase 1. That's phase 2. Is that right? Am I getting the phases correct?
We don't, I mean, everything is the first phase. These two components are all going to be.
So those are the first 2 phases. So from 120, so from 117 to 125th, and so from 105th to 107th, you're expanding to.
And the pier, yeah.
And the pier. Okay. And so, in that time period to do that construction, take maybe what, 2 or 3 years?
That's right, about 3 years, yeah.
3 years, and maybe you start construction maybe 2 years from now?
No. I think we're gonna bid it this fall and hope to start construction right after the beginning of the year, 2027.
Okay, so let's say 2030, 2031 is when construction will be completed.
It's our goal.
Okay, and so there's no funding for no additional funding from 94th to 105th, and from 107th to 114th. So during the time period of now, so 2031, in the event that there are more sinkholes because those places have not been repaired and more patchwork to do, it is conceivable that that new section, when it is open, will not be accessible from those sections. In a hypothetical situation, right? I just wanted.
Right. The obverse of that, I would say, is that if money can be found in that time period, that we have a design completed, we have it permitted, and we have a construction manager on site. So if there's a way to find money, we could just go seamlessly from the current project into the rest of it. That's.
All right, I'm gonna take 2 more hands, and then you're all welcome back in September. He asked it? Okay. All right, go ahead. Well, I didn't see you. Sharon, you wanna go ahead? Go ahead. Introduce yourself more formally and then ask your question.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sharon Pope Marshall. I'm the Executive Director for Civitas. We are an organization that balances 2 communities. Our catchment area comprises 2 communities, the Upper East Side as well as El Barrio East Harlem. And I want to tell you that we have our Executive Vice President here this evening, Joanna Delson, and also our 2 Vice Presidents here that you've heard from previously. That's the level of commitment that we have engaged for many, many years with respect to the Esplanade. I want you to know that the single thing that keeps me personally awake at night is the East Harlem Esplanade. The reason is because since we're also intimately familiar with the Upper East Side Esplanade and how that came to be, and also I'm a 3-decade member of Manhattan Community Board 8, which is just south of here. I know how the East Side Esplanade and below came to be. And our organization has focused, we're very clear that this is a racial equity issue. And I'm so proud of Civitas for understanding and recognizing that. And we are working very much in focusing on that issue. I appreciate everything that the Parks Department has. I'm a former civil servant with the Department of City Planning. My husband is still there. And we love parks. I mean, you guys have, we know that you take 25 cents and try to stretch it to make it $1, always. And we do very much appreciate it. But coming here, with all due respect, it's not about coming here and letting us know earlier that something is not going to be done. The issue is coming here so we could break out the champagne, not here, because this is a municipal building, but outside.
We can have champagne here.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, all right, thank you. So that we're here to celebrate. There should be no difference between below 96th Street and above 96th Street. Zero zilch, you should not be able to see a transition. That's it. So I had 2 questions, but I really want to emphasize what Nilsa said in terms of being angry, because we're angry. A considerable part of my job, and these are the people I report to, are on the Esplanade. It's about the Esplanade. And to be honest with you, we expected so much more this evening. I want to know, to wrap it up, I want to know, one, the FDR Drive. You mentioned earlier that that is a potential problem in terms of impacting the width of the Esplanade, and we understand that. I'd like to know if you know of any other problems with the Esplanade, I'm sorry, with the FDR Drive, in particular, thank you, Nicholas. Structurally with the Esplanade, that's number 1. And you know what? I don't think we have to wait till September. I would like to know if it's possible, if we could receive a schedule of what's not being done. That's a simple email, because that gives us that affords us a way to move forward, so that way we can continue to collaborate with EDC, with the Parks Department, and the community, obviously the community board, so that way we can work together and get you guys what you need to have in order to get this project done. So those are my 2 questions.
So with respect to the FDR Drive, the issue I brought up is that the structure, the waterfront structure and the FDR Drive are interconnected. So we have to be careful when we're building the waterfront to not do anything that would jeopardize that. So that's where there's some additional tiebacks and things that have to be installed that wouldn't be installed in a regular waterfront, which is driving up some of the costs. So there are no structural issues with the FDR Drive. Our construction needs to make sure that it's protected from the work that we're doing.
And thank you. But I answer, can we get a schedule of what's not being?
Yeah, well, you'll get it to all,
I mean,
or no, whatever, it doesn't matter, questions. In the meantime, we want those answers leading up to September. September is to come back in, so there's not gonna be no communication or answers in that period. Okay, last hand, Joanna. All right, and then we're gonna move to our next item, okay?
Okay, so Sharon, recently I'm Joanna Dellison, the top member, East Harlem resident for 20 years, grew up in New York. If both sides are being raised around the 107 to 117, we're gonna be in a valley here. And during Sandy, there was a lot of water on the FDR and all the way up to Second Avenue. And all of the residents there suffered for that. So my question is, what are you gonna do about that? Because it is not gonna, it's gonna be much worse if now we're the valley.
So let me say that, the entire waterfront needs to be raised, and so we can only do it a piece at a time. So there's always the potential for an unimproved area to be vulnerable. We're just working as fast as we can in order to raise all those
But
areas.
of course, that is, as has been mentioned tonight, housing that, you know, it has been overlooked for a long time.
Understood.
Okay.
I have one.
Go ahead.
This money is being held by EDC? It's 280 or 290, how much?
294 million, it's in the city's pocket. We have to apply for it when we're ready to do construction.
How much of it have you spent so far?
On design, maybe around 10, 15 million in design.
10 to
and
15?
CMPs since the beginning, since 4 years ago.
So 4 years, you've only spent 10 to 15.
But that's just for soft.
I mean, cause, this kind of money, like, can negotiate easily, like 5% bond, like, you'd have another 75 million. I mean, the ineffectiveness of this is the problem. Like,
I think that there are some rules that protect or prevent the city money from being invested in a way that could be interest bearing, so.
But again, like, to spend only 10 to 15 million from 294 in a period of 5 years. And then you ask, why are we taking so long? Yeah, everything is gonna go up and everything will continue. to go up. Thank you.
All right, yeah, no, yeah, I know. We've, I think, said it, and we'll say it some more if we have to. I mean, it's up to all of you, what kind of conversation this is in September. I'm hoping that we don't have to continue to vent and that we can, because we really just want answers and things done. And I think you understand that, and there's a lot of frustration here. So it's up to you all how the next conversation goes and what answers we get in the meantime. But I'm hoping we have a more productive, informative meeting next time. But with that said, I do appreciate you all coming out on a short notice. You're welcome to stay. You don't have to. So thank you again. All right. And with that said, if you're leaving, I'll ask you to do it quietly. If you want to talk, you can talk outside. And now we will move to our NYCHA updates. Thank you, Brian and Brent. Come back. You will go first. I'm sorry. And I will say, so the committee, I'd send you all a bunch of questions I had sent to NYCHA. They're committed to trying to answer all of them, but it was unreasonable for them to have to answer all of them tonight. We'd be here till God knows when. So I sent about 5 to answer tonight. You all have those in your email. So if you want to pull them up, but Brian, yeah, of course.
So conversations outside.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for inviting me tonight. It's always a pleasure to be here at Community Board 11. I've been here a lot over the years. Community Board 11 was a public housing authority on its own. It would probably be the second and third largest public housing authority in the entire country. That's how much public housing you have, right? So, don't quote me on that, but it's close.
Brian. Yes. That's Angel C.
Okay, all right.
I just wanted to create a riff.
Let's create a little more trouble.
Brian, you just sit right near Angel if you want.
Or I don't want to get an arm's length because he's got a great gym. So, I think all of the issues that nature experiences, you all see on a daily basis, right? So whether it is repairs, it is deferred maintenance, it is, capital issues, it is, some of the social issues that, go on, you all hear. And a few months back, we met in this very room and talked about how do we work together closer? How do we work together on have a better line of communication? And I have assigned Brent, who's over here as a staffer, to be the liaison for Community Board 11. And Brent, help pull the answers to the questions that you have together. So I committed to doing, if we want to do a forum or something, more public, I've committed to doing that. I've done these things before with Community Board 11, with Xavier and stuff like that. Happy to do them again. I'm not shy about saying when I don't know something, but I'll also say, I'll get back to you, right? So, I'm also, will also be honest with you when something is not possible, but I'll also tell you what is possible, right? So I'm not gonna blame everything on funding, because not everything is funding. But, funding is a real thing, so that's where, my opening statement, and then, if you wanna go straight to questions, we can do that.
Sure. Do you wanna, I sent you the questions we wanted. Yeah, so I guess if you wanna just say the question, you could like abbreviate it, get to the gist of it, and then just give us your answers, and then we'll see like two hands, but like related to the questions, because you all had an opportunity to send questions. So keep it to the questions that have been asked. If you have follow-ups, different things, we can send those at a later time. All right?
Yep, so the first question was, how can Community Board 11 and NYCHA establish more formal, effective, and ongoing two-way line of communication so the issues can be identified, addressed before they become larger? I mean, I think we started to establish it by assigning Brent as the liaison. Brent literally sits 100 feet away from me, and has access to the CEO and has access to the COO. You all tell us like what you want, like whether it, and we did bring the CEO here. We can bring the head of operations, we can bring the head of capital. You tell us what you want, we do.
Okay, well, that's a great answer. And Brent is great. I've dealt with Brent, even on specific small requests, Brent responds and gets things done. So I'm excited about that.
Then you come share my information with everyone.
You sure?
All
All right, you got it.
It's on the record.
All right, well, listen, you heard that answer. So until they do otherwise, then we're accountable if we don't do that. So remember what they said, because if we're not doing it, then I don't want to hear it from us. If we are doing it and they're not doing it, then I'll tell them. But I am confident this will be good. Thank you for that one.
Sure.
We get to the next one.
So the next question is RADPAC and the Public Housing Preservation Trust. So the question here is, given that the Public Housing Preservation Trust allows developments to access Section 8 funding while remaining under NYCHA management, why has the Preservation Trust not been utilized more extensively? So the only tool that HUD offers for rehabbing the public housing developments is RAD, right? Locally we call it PACT. It's the same thing, right? So basically what it does is it takes Section 9, which is traditional public housing, and converts it to Section 8. And under RAD, you also partner with a private entity, so a private developer to do the construction and a private manager to manage the property day to day. So in East Harlem, we've used this at several properties. First one was at 355 East 111th Street, which was part of Jefferson Houses years ago. That was a property that was, I remember before, it was really bad. It was really depressing. It really always felt very hopeless. I mean, I remember going in there, you could smell the mold. And now you go by there and it is much better. And it really is, day and night, people living in dignity once again. So, Park Avenue, East 122nd Street. Wilson is in pre-development right now. Metro North. So forever, Metro North had this really dirty, ugly outside mobile boiler that was emitting black smoke. Councilmember Ayala at the time used to bring this to my attention at least once a week during the winter. I'm happy to say that this year, thanks to PAC, you know, that has gone. They have a much cleaner, efficient system. Gaylord White, which is a senior development, Jackie Robinson, which is our latest, UPAC 5 and 6, both UPAC 6 as a senior development, Corsi Senior, and Morris Park Seniors. So we're doing a lot of rehab here using PAC. Now, the trust is a tool that we got from the state legislature. It is still fairly new. And what the trust does is it uses a lot of the tools from RAD, except we don't partner with a private entity. We use a public workforce. Now, we have not closed one of these deals yet, although in order to get into the trust, residents have to vote in order to get into trust. So it's opened up to a vote and residents have a choice. Do we vote for the trust? Do we vote for PAC? Or do we vote to remain in Section 9? And we've had mixed results. Some developments have voted to go in the trust. Some developments have gone into PAC, and some developments very close by here at Isaac's houses recently, they decided that they're going to remain in Section 9. In order to do this, you have to raise money though. You have to issue bonds, which is the same as all government projects, right? Government doesn't save money. What it does is it issue bonds, and that's how things get built. We're going to close our first project in Brooklyn this summer. Once we do that, and once we prove to the market that this is something that's worth investing in, we will be able to close more deals. So these will ramp up in the future, but it will take, it will take that first deal, and we're going to do that this summer. Okay, and then next, capital maintenance. Which 90 developments in East Harlem currently have the greatest unmet capital needs? What are the most significant outstanding capital improvements at each development? And what concrete steps is nature taking to address those needs? Included anticipated funding sources and timelines. The one thing I said, if you all Google Nature Capital Tracker, you can actually look by development to see what is needed and what is funded. So that is a fairly new tool. Forever, this was just a secret that I had, and I was able to share when people asked. But this is a fairly new tool, so that's something that you could definitely go to look. But the developments that have the largest capital needs are so our Wagner houses, which on its own, Wagner houses has about $1.5 billion in need. Ooh, right? On its own. Sorry. Yes. Jefferson houses has $975 million in needs. And Washington houses has $784 million in need. So just those three developments alone, you're looking at almost $3 billion for each, right? And you guys have a lot more than that, right? So I'm happy to say though that we have done a lot of work though in this neighborhood. Taft houses, Johnson houses, Lehman houses, all got new heating systems. There's a lot of new roofs, a lot of being done. The problem is when we get a capital allocation from the federal government, and that's where most of our capital comes from. And every year we get about $650 million from the capital, from the federal government, which we have to spread all over the portfolio. And so Johnson gets a new boiler, Lehman gets a new boiler, when some other development gets new elevators. But at the end of the day, each of these developments have like 30 things that they need. So honestly, what you really need is a comprehensive approach. And that's what we're trying to do both with the trust and with PAC. So this way, folks are getting, not just heat this winter, but they're getting elevator service, they're getting, better security, they're getting appliances in their apartments. When I talk to residents, they don't tell me they want a swimming pool. What they tell me is they want to come to their building, want to make sure that the entrance door is locked and it locks consistently. They want to walk to the elevator, press the button, it comes down to the first floor and takes them to an apartment that has heat and that does not have repair needs. That shouldn't be too much to ask, but unfortunately, it has been over the years a challenge for us to meet. Okay. And then the next question is on public safety. So over the weekend, you all may have read about an incident at King Towers, which is, close by here. Some young men were playing basketball and 3 were shot, at King Towers. Unfortunately, this is a story that is all too common, in many of our developments. There are some things that are in our control and there are some things that are not in our control, right? Some of the things that are in our control is making sure that our doors are locked, consistently. Making sure that we do, work with other city agencies to make sure that people who are experiencing homelessness find services and they don't have to sleep in our stairwells. Making sure that our cameras are working and viewed consistently. And I think we're doing a better job on that. I think some of them are still challenging, even though they are in our control. We do, on a daily basis, fix locks. But there are folks who have an interest in seeing them broken. And so it is like the worst game of whack-a-mole. We fix them, somebody breaks them, and literally, I called supers about this and they said, I just fixed this at 9 o'clock in the morning and it's now 1 o'clock in the afternoon and they're broken. So that's not your issue. That's not the issue it is an issue for residents because, they have to live with it, but it's not an excuse. It's just reality. So we're doing, we'll continue to, stay at this. We'll never give up, but, we also too have a better police presence, honestly. I'm not throwing my colleagues at NYPD under a bus, but there was a time when they used to do vertical patrols more, right? And that meant they were, in the developments, walking up and down the stairwells, and folks knew it. And I'm not looking for more prosecution. I'm not looking for more arrests, but just the presence certainly helps. It's not something I see as much anymore. We used to pay NYPD $70 million a year under Bill de Blasio. We stopped paying them, which was right, because why should people who live in public housing have to pay what is essentially another tax in order to get the same services that other folks get? But at the same time, when that payment stopped, the additional services stopped too. So I would like to see that return. And then REASE, which is a workforce development program that we have at NYCHA. So we have a workforce development program at NYCHA. It is based in Brooklyn on Atlantic Avenue, but we do have a coordinator here for East Harlem. If you want, next time we come, we could bring her. She spends all of her time here. She's here 2 days a week too, in this area. And what do they do at REASE? So they partner with DSS on the Jobs Plus program. They have a Jobs Plus office at Jefferson Houses that is run by Urban Upbound. Jobs Plus does a great job in getting people job ready, to make sure that they have solid resumes, to make sure that they have training, to make sure that they're interview ready. So that's great. We also have a program that trains people in construction work that is linked to the New York State Labor, that gives you a pathway straight to the union. So we have so many people within NYCHA who can do construction works. They're carpenters, they're electricians, they do this stuff all the time, but they can't get into the unions. When the unions, I have a lot of relationships with many of the unions. A lot of times I'll ask them to come and speak at their halls. And when I go there, unfortunately, it really looks like a family reunion, right? Everybody is from Nassau and Suffolk. Everybody's, a lot of folks looks like they could be my cousin. And unfortunately, we really need the unions to open up. And we we have a pathway now that goes from training to the union. And it doesn't mean you necessarily have to work in NYCHA work, because once you're in. We also have a janitorial program that trains folks to be caretakers in NYCHA, but they also can use these skills other places, good union jobs, that are GBJ or Teamsters, really good jobs. We also have a program that teaches people to start their own businesses. There's a lot of folks in NYCHA who are really good at one thing. Say they're a really good cook, everybody asks them to be the one who cooks for a party. You know, you can turn that skill into a catering job. Everybody asks somebody to babysit. You can turn that into a daycare in your apartment. So, you know, people don't even know, you know, the things that they do are marketable, and we'll show you how to start a job, from the, how to start a business, with these skills that you have. And
that was it.
And then lastly, we also have an extermination pathway too, where we teach people how to be exterminators. We hired 150 residents from this program recently to be exterminators. It's certainly needed, with us. I think it's also needed throughout the city. So it is definitely a marketable skill. And it's one that AI is probably not going to take over anytime soon. So those are my 5 questions. I know you have more. I'll take others though.
Okay, yeah. First, if you could get those to us in writing, thank you.
Brent, can you send them? I'll give everything to you guys. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
One question I'll ask a few and then we'll go around. Regarding Reese, did the MTA at any point come to NYCHA, or have their contractors talk to NYCHA about potentially getting residents jobs on the 2nd Avenue subway?
I don't remember that, but the only thing they offered that was with gift cards when a few times they hit some of our gas lines. But no, and it was one thing that we did ask them, and we didn't get that.
Would you mind, up to you, you could come virtually.
Sure.
We have our task force meeting next Wednesday. We're going to be talking about local hiring numbers. We've gotten them, I guess, required 5-mile radius is considered local hiring. So you could be in like New Jersey and qualify, but it would be helpful because they're going to get a zip code specific hiring numbers now. But I would like if you could be there because, we've been told that it's possible there weren't enough qualified residents for jobs, which is very hard to believe, especially on the higher level jobs, but also on the 10 guys holding a stop sign. I'm surprised they can't find somebody. Okay, so that would be helpful because I felt like that should have been where they went.
Just get the information.
I'll get it to you. Sure. Thank you. And then, okay. This is really not about you guys, but I was made aware that I think Wilson, Taft, and another development all had outages recently.
Yep.
And I know that that's usually Con Edison lowering the voltage. My concern among many, though, is, a lot of seniors live in these buildings, and I know then the elevators are impacted by that. I'm sure you communicate that to Con Edison, but so what is their response to that? Especially in those cases where this is actually, affecting people's potential well-being in emergencies.
Yeah, so when it gets really hot, Con Edison cuts the voltage, and it impacts us, probably more than almost everyone else in the city because we have such large developments, and because they're also the electricity is older, it is unable to take it. Councilmember Ayala was, texting me like almost every hour about, some of these lines. And we did have lines at Wilson, we did have lines at Lehman that were out. So they do tell us in advance, but that's about it, and they give us updates, and they, we send staff, when they have staff there, we try to work together. The elevators are the hardest part because we can send out stair climbers, but if you know what a stair climber is, it really is like a manual way of getting people up the stairs. And if you live on the 15th floor, it's just not realistic, right? So we also have lists of people who are on life support, and we're able to get to those folks first, and we contact them first. The thing is about those lists, though, they are all voluntary, so we really encourage people when they do the recertification, please tell us because of things like this. mean, I've lived through like Sandy and I've lived through, you know, these heat waves. And we really need to get the people to make sure that, you know, we can help figure them out. So we do have coordination, we do have communication, but nothing beats getting the power back on.
Okay, and my last question, and this is something that was brought to my attention. And this is concerning Rat Pack, which is one of my questions. And I'll get to that more general question after, but there was a flyer distributed about a lease signing raffle for all PAC leases signed by June 22nd. I see Hope Community, Twin Peaks Management, and Apex on this. I mean, this is like borderline predatory to me. You're asking people to sign a lease, make a legal decision with a deadline, and you might give them a TV. I mean, that's like disgusting. And then it leads me to my next question. When we have concerns like this, or much bigger concerns about these management companies, frankly, the fact that Hope puts their name on that is disgusting. And they need to be talked to about that. What do we do? Who do we go to when we're bought? Like, what agency do we go to when they're doing things like this?
So again, Brent, everything is gonna be Brent. You know, so we still own the land and we still own the buildings. So when our partners do something like that, which I think they thought was well meaning, but I agree with you, it's like when you're offering somebody a TV to sign a legal document isn't really a good strategy.
Well, is there some way to make them not stop this?
Yes, so we have an asset management team that basically polices these guys. So when something like that is brought to your attention, it goes to Brent goes to Jillian, who runs that team, and I was given that flyer like 7 different times at the Nature in the Neighborhood event that we had at Johnson Houses. So it is something that we're definitely aware of. It's something that, even Lisa Bovahaya, who's the CEO, said she disapproved of. It's just, I just think some people are talking about, that's all. I don't think they had malice.
Oh, I don't either. But the impact is, you know what I mean?
Exactly, it's just not.
Still could, no, I agree. Last thing on that night show, the one that was at Johnson Houses, that was done with the mayor's office?
With the mayor's office, yes.
Well, I'm gonna tell everybody, I'll tell you guys too, ask the mayor's office to not have multiple events at the same time on the same day. They did a La Marqueta one in one place, and then that in another place at the same time. And it's interesting they would do this at Johnson Houses when that's the closest NYCHA development to where that public grocery store is. So you shouldn't have to make people have to choose. That's not to you, but I just want to make that statement. Obviously, you guys had nothing to do with that. All right, 3 questions, because you all could have sent questions. So, Nilsa, go ahead.
This is not a question. It's
Whatever you want to say.
So I have someone who lives in Wagner.
Mhm.
And last week, both elevators were down 4 days. They were told that it was because of Con Edison.
Yep.
But then they saw that the other buildings have 1 elevator in service.
Yep.
And they were saying how they were not, by the housing, communicated that their building only seemed to be impacted with both elevators were down, but everyone else had access. I was just wondering, is that something that's usual where you can't get at least one, if you're able to get all the other elevators, at least one? And then now they're down again. They were down yesterday and today they were down again, both elevators in 50 Palladino. Enough that one person who was in the wheelchair actually stood downstairs because they lived on a higher floor, so we stayed on the bench because there was no way to get them.
Yeah, so when we have 2 out, we pull out a double header, and that gets our first priority.
Right.
But in Wagner there, we didn't have a whole building out, we had a line. So a line is, and unfortunately it was the line where the elevators were. So some buildings were able to get 1 elevator back on because Con Edison asked us to cut elevator service.
Right.
But in that building, we had no power in order to do it. So when power comes back to elevator service is the last thing that comes back, because we need staff to come there and manually turn it on. And we were eventually able to do that at Wagner, but that's the worst.
Because they're down again, and the reason I'm saying this because They're so upset that they said they were gonna start calling the council person and calling other people because they don't understand about the elevator going down, yes, but that how one at least can be restored like other, and so you have some of this gentleman was 72 for the last 4 days last week, he was walking up the stairs and.
So if you give me the building address, I'll make sure that
50 Paladino.
the 50 pounds, I'll make sure the staff gets out there if they haven't been out there.
Yeah, cause I.
The
know
other
they
thing
said
is,
there's some people there, but they didn't do it.
I'm gonna contact the tenant association and ask the elevator staff to go to their next meeting. To, just explain, but also just to explain to people like why we have outages like this, why sometimes we have two rather than one and stuff like that, just to answer those
Thank you,
questions.
Brian.
Sure.
Thank you, Melissa. Candy?
Hi, Brian.
How are
Thanks,
you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good.
I know you were looking for to come out here to speak to all of us. The lease program.
Mm-hmm.
I love everything that's going on. I encourage a lot of people, especially those that live in Night Jump, because I mean, those kind of programs are geared just for people from Night Jump. There are other people from the outside that can benefit the same, but then the thing is, Beast looks it up and you know you're not on a lease of Night Jump, so then you don't qualify. Why can't you have an extra phase of the lease program in Manhattan? Because most of those programs and even these, everything that you're offering, the training and all, you have to go all the way down to Brooklyn.
You did have to
And in
go.
the dead cold winter, and to get out there is a challenge, and some of the stuff that you have there, I even wanna go just to learn, but I'm not gonna go down to Brooklyn. So how
I live
can
in
you
Brooklyn,
make?
it's not so bad.
Right, I'm not in Brooklyn. That's what you guys do.
That's where it's from here.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that why can't you do a base also in Manhattan? It just doesn't really matter where, as long as it's in Manhattan. Why can't we do that? Consider that.
Okay, it can be done. I can come back to this board with how much it would
You
cost.
need a space?
No, space is not the issue, but it is cost is the issue. But it can be done. In fact, even the coordinator said, that they would love to do it, but there's a funding, issue, but I'll come back to how much it would cost.
Thank you.
Take one more hand if there is. Yeah, go ahead.
So you also, is not just cutting down on the groundwork, on the groundskeepers?
No.
No?
No, yeah.
Interesting.
Why is there, okay, you have to tell me more about what's in there. But we're not cutting down,
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you.
and I'll be in next Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, and then Nilsa, you and Brent, we'll link it, you guys, because you should be coming to the housing meetings regularly. There'll be times where we want you guys here. We'll look forward to the other answers, but thank you so much.
No,
It's really great. Thank you. See, this is a lot better than the one before, and when you come with answers. Thank you. Appreciate it. Take your time, thank you. Appreciate this.
All right, thank you, anytime.
Thank you both. You also know you don't have to stay.
Now I have to get back to
Yeah, yeah. I wanna save our time. Thank you. You go first. All right. Thank you.
Can I do this one? So you put them in.
All right, we're gonna go to D, a discussion on proposed conditional letter of support regarding site control of city-owned property and the proposed mixed-use development at 200 East 127th Street. So this was presented to us last month. They wanted the letter, if you remember, at last month's meeting, and they asked if we could get it to them this month. We had suggested that it be a conditional letter rather than just a letter of support. So I have two conditions I'd like us to consider. I think they're pretty straightforward. There's 15 units of Candy, can you shut the door? Thank you. 15% of units would be allocated with community preference. One of the conditions I would ask is that all of those units are family-sized units, meaning 2 bedrooms or more. And then the other request is, with the commercial space, that they have a commitment in perpetuity to not rent those spaces out to any more chemical substance abuse treatment facilities. So I'm not talking about therapy or any of that, specifically like a methadone clinic, et cetera. That's something we're asking. I think we're planning or we're trying to ask moving forward, the publicly developed sites, because we've had meetings recently where they've said, we haven't done this before, but not this development. I think we had a meeting with for another one. And the concern is that might not be their intention, but then when the space sits there empty and they get desperate enough, they're gonna rent it. And so we just want that on the record to begin with. So I'm not opposed to granting this letter. This is just to get the discussion started. Historically, these letters haven't even been conditional. But it doesn't hurt to start asking for things, I think, right away. And they were open to that. So I guess my question is, do we feel comfortable with those conditions? Do we feel comfortable supporting a letter today? They said they would wait till September. If we have good reason to, I'm happy to. If some of you haven't had the opportunity to think about it, but think there should be more conditions, then we can do September. So we'll have a brief discussion. Derek, go ahead.
I have a question. I'm assuming the first condition around which units are allocated, that's something that they definitely can do, right? Is that
Well,
correct?
you mean about like the 15% being family size units? Well, the pushback, I mean, they should be able to do it, sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like they can
They do
pick which units are
As
the,
far as I know, they did. I believe so.
and then the follow-up is for like the other condition, like, I guess two parts, like you can get them to say yes, but then can we also get that to, that they're held
right.
accountable to that?
Of course.
But I mean like.
Yes. Yeah.
They can have that written down.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We've done that. I remember actually when the MTA wanted to do 125th Street build up and they were gonna get the money. And I had asked them at land use, will you commit to using all that money to go to the subway project here? Because, you know, they could use it elsewhere. And they said yes, and we told them we needed that in writing, 100%. Because, you know, the people will change in the room and whatever, and so we need it memorialized. Because no one's gonna watch these videos looking for it. Okay, so, yeah, no, I wasn't moving ahead. I was looking for hands. Go ahead.
The only reason I think we should wait because there's multiple things happening at this site. I know we're speaking specifically about this one specific part of the site, but there's so much talk about what's gonna be around it. I think we need to be a little bit more thoughtful in our conditions, thinking of the whole site, just because of everything. It's gonna be a close proximity, if that makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense to me. I'm the one that originally pushed for September, and I'm fine with that. What I
That's the
will,
only reason I think
no, and I
because
agree.
there's so much other stuff involved, like we can't really decide on one thing.
I agree 1,000,000%. But with that said, if this committee says that that's what they want, and I don't get anything from anybody, when we come into this room next time, that will be an issue that I will have. Because if I'm going to push things back so we can do more work, and this has happened, I've been guilty of this myself, then let's use that time. Because if I'm gonna go to them, I mean, I really don't care what I tell them, total number, but if I'm gonna say that's the reason, then we need to do something in the interim. So if we're committed to that, I have no problem with that. Are we all committed to doing our best to add conditions or thoughtful commentary that would go into this letter? Can I expect something from people here? Okay, then we can wait till September. The next question is, are we gonna have a further? Angel, how nice of you to.
That's respectfully, that's kind of wide open. There's been 30 days since the last presentation. What about the rest of the project should we be talking about, and why can't we talk about it now? This has been, I'm sorry, just one more thing.
Yeah.
This has been a project, the larger project, that has been on the community board's table for 25 years. So if there's anything to be known, we know it already. So let's talk about it if that's the case. I don't see a reason based on not knowing to delay until September.
Can I?
Of course.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no, my reason, I just want to tell the whole committee is because in case people aren't aware, there is talks of maybe schools being relocated over there. So also that affects kind of conditions about what we want. Like if we're giving conditions and stuff, it kind of affects like what we're requesting from them, like conditions wise to do. Like the methadone clinic, we obviously can't have methadone clinics next to where they might potentially go to some. So that's where my thinking is. That's where my thinking is going. But I'm saying, like, also, do we want like a large, like what retail could go to, stuff like that? Or do we not really have I'm sorry if that's not.
Well, Eric?
At the meeting, last month, when we had this conversation with them around like, they were excited to have a retail, to anchor the corner, and previous to that, we had a whole thing about like, stop putting ground level retail that sits vacant for years and years and years. I don't know if that's a condition in the letter. They seemed open to like, maybe we need to rethink that original idea. And they were talking about maybe expanding the size of the church and their facility to take up the rest of the ground level. I don't know if that is a condition or something that could go in this letter, but I do think if we're talking about like what would we want to see different, I don't think we want them to put in something that's going to be ground level and just add to the list of things that are updated.
Okay. Yeah, I see Joy's hand. So I'm gonna recognize Joy and then we could hear what else the committee has to say.
I think that
Joy,
might be
yeah,
Jack. Yeah.
Hey folks, it's Jack.
Hi.
I was sorry, I'm also outside, so apologies. So I'll make this easy. We're not interested in proposing retail anymore, partially because of the feedback we got from the last presentation. And we'd much rather allocate that corner on 126 and 3rd Avenue to be a fantastic entrance for the new United Moravian Church. So your first ask is easy to agree to. We'd agree. The second ask on the family units for the 15% community preference. We typically do, 30% 2 beds, and the balance is like 1 bedrooms and studios. So is your ask that 50% of those units be 2 and 3 beds?
Yeah, I'm saying that there's 15 set aside for community preference, right, from this district. All of those 15% go to family sized units. So every unit of the 15,
no, it's fine. So when you say family size, 2 beds and 3 beds?
2 plus 2 and 3. Yeah.
You got it. That's fine. No problem.
Thank you.
Hi, sorry.
No,
I'll just
hold
cut
on.
in.
But
I just want to say, I want to confirm, we hear you definitely on like, hi, I'm Joy from HPD. Good to see folks again. I want to confirm that that is legally okay in terms of the community preference, but we
That's
hear
fair,
you
yes.
very strongly on the need for more family sized units, especially for folks in the neighborhood. So just want to make sure that's clear, but we hear you loud and clear on the need for that.
But I have a counter ask. So we do not want to wait till September to get the support letter. So if we can get back to you on the second matter about the family size units, can you guys issue a support letter this month? Because we are very eager to get started on this project. We do not want to sit on our hands for another couple months. As you guys know, you guys were there in presentation, United Moravian is very anxious to get this thing moving forward. And if I go back to them and say, we're going to wait till September, we're not sure. I'm just concerned. I'm concerned about that dynamic. So.
I mean, okay, I gotta see, what everyone thinks, but theoretically, how long would it take to get this answer to know if that is legally permissible? I mean, couldn't this just be a simple question?
Yeah, I can check with our team. I need to check with our legal team just to confirm. But,
Okay.
yeah, and I do want to just emphasize again, this is really early on in the process. We plan to come out to the board many, many times. And we're happy to have you include the conditions, but this is definitely not the end of the conversation by any means. But we'll work on getting you that response.
Okay, thank you, Candy.
So I'm sorry, I didn't hear you earlier, but so you want us to give you a letter before September, but are you gonna give us something in writing that you're gonna give additional family size units?
We just
No, we're-
asked that.
In writing?
Yeah, we'll work with HB to get you a response on that, because I'm speaking on behalf of the developer team, not in HBD. So just to clarify, but we're open to this idea. We're okay. We're agnostic to the idea. We also agree with you guys on the retail. We talked about it internally today, actually, and we don't think it's a good idea. We'd much rather allocate that space to a better entrance for United Moravian Church's new space, right? But if we get back to you guys in a short time frame, our counter ask would be to issue a support letter this month, because we really, really want to get started on this. And I just have concerns about going back to the church and saying we might have to not do anything for two more months. So.
Okay.
But my question was on Venus side, not the retail space.
Yeah, but I don't really, okay, I asked the question, they said that, yes, they just have to make sure that it's legally permissible, and so. And I believe it would be too, and if for whatever reason it isn't, I need to see that in writing where it is actually stated that that's the case.
Okay, can I also interject with that 1 minute? So that means that the development team and the architectural team don't have any jurisdiction in making any changes with the design of their project and adding additional family-sized units, because it's up to HPD to decide if it's okay to do that?
That's,
We're not.
to be clear, sorry, Jack, I can
Go ahead.
jump in.
Go ahead, Joy. Yep.
This is just about the community preference, the 15% set aside. It doesn't have anything to do with the overall amount of family size units in the building. But I want to make sure before we promise to you that the 15% would just be family sized, that that's definitely something we could do, because I don't want to overpromise.
Yeah, we don't want to.
And this is a part of the settlement that we explained with the lawsuit against the fair housing law. So I just want to make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's.
Yeah, we don't want to Joe's point, we can't promise something that's not allowed in the city statutes. So
I understand that, and even distribution is merited. I understand.
Okay. Xavier.
And that's fine, you asked the question, I think once, the committee's pleased to move forward conditional. That, and then, but that would be the only thing I would say that, and again, it's at your discretion.
No, it's not.
But it's.
Thank you.
No, but with all due respect, but if we come back, because I think worst case scenario, they say the statutes prevent that 15% being allocated for community.
Yeah, I agree.
Then what is our?
Then we come back in September and we see if we have any other conditions and we give the letter then.
no, wait, hold up, folks, hold up. No. So the thing is, if we come back, it's because that's what the law requires. It's not like that's going to change in September. So, yeah.
No, what I'm saying is, like, we have two conditions right now, but
Yes.
and if we don't get one of them, even if it's because of the law, not because of you guys, then I would like us to have additional time to think of alternative conditions we'd ask for. And I did ask, and I'm happy to give it to you. I really hope the answer is yes, so we can do it. But when I did ask last meeting, if it could wait till September, we were told that it could. So I like you, I don't want it to, but I feel like that should be contingent on the, feasibility or legality of the 15% all being able to be 2+ bedroom, 2 and 3 bedroom units. So, Derek,
Can I propose instead, the ask is the highest percentage legally permitted? And then if it's 100%, it's 100%, but if they say it's gotta be 80%, like, we're gonna get the most possible.
That's right.
We could get the most possible if we ask for it in that way versus 100%, and then they say they can't do it, and then we're back here 2 months from now having the same conversation again.
Well, that's my point. It's like, if when we come back to you folks, it's going to be, that's what is required. So you're going to get the highest possible under the current statutes. I don't know what will be accomplished by waiting another 60 days to have the same conversation, because we're not going to be able to change that, right?
I wasn't saying about that. I was saying that they might want more time to think of alternative asks. I'm just expressing what I'm seeing to be the sentiment here. Angel and then Xavier.
So I just one other point. So this is like an iterative process. The other asks, we're going to be coming back before you folks and obviously the other committees within CB11 over the next, at this point, 2 years. So there's a lot of runway for other asks, and like as we show you different, as we continue to reform the project. But this initial kind of like conceptually, is CB11, the executive committee, on board with the idea of 400 units of 100% affordable housing and a new home for United Moravian Church? And we've already conceded on the mixed use, the retail space. And we'll obviously get back to you folks on the community preference, unit sizing. But that's that's all we have to offer right now. So even in September, there's nothing really more we can offer, because we still have to figure out this project. But we just kind of want the initial broad strokes that we presented a couple weeks ago, we want your blessing on that, because then if we have that, and this is just kind of a mechanical thing for us as the developer, if we have that, then we get our blessing from HPD, then we internally can start organizing our teams, because we know we have a project that's going to proceed. We don't necessarily have all the details figured out. It is an iterative process. We will be in communication with CB11 through the whole process. But I guess we're kind of just looking for the broad strokes to be approved this month, if possible, because I really, really would like to start putting our teams together over the next, couple months, because we have a lot of like environmental review to get involved with, and ULURP and design. And I also, frankly, just want to show the church that we're moving ahead with the basic program for the project.
Okay, thank you. Angel, go ahead.
I'm trying to mind what I say to the table. We've done these many times for many years, and I understand the conditions, but I see people sucking their teeth and rolling their eyes. This is incredibly early. Incredibly early. You're not committing to anything. You're not approving a project. All you're doing is giving a blessing for HPD and this developer to engage in conversations on this site for a potential project. That's it. Candy has signed off on these in the past. She can say if I'm exaggerating, if I'm saying this wrong. This is not a contract, okay? Just to be clear, because I see, perhaps there's some hangover from the previous conversation that got all passionate. That's not what this is. Y'all can vote however you want, but just have a clear understanding of where we are in the process. This is incredibly early. They're still gonna have to come for ULURP at some point, and they can come. Mr. Haney, I won't speak for him, I don't know the man, but he seems responsive. He seemed responsive last month. You can invite him back in September and October, November, whatever, in infinity until the ULURP certifies, and keep negotiating aspects of the project. But it is incredibly early to make a decision on a project that isn't even on paper. Like, they're not close. That project's gonna change. Candy changed the project that's up. You walk by it every day in ULURP. In ULURP. So if we want more units, bigger size units, you can have many more cracks at bigger size units in the project. Like, they perhaps have limitations on how much they can commit for family size units for the affordable, because there's rules within HPD's lottery system, right? But they could change the makeup of the full project if they have, I'm not gonna speak for the man, but let's just say for an example, if the building currently has 10 3-bedroom apartments, they could shift that to 15, to 20. That's still possible. They may or may not wanna do it. The only limitation from what they're proposing so far that may be is with those lottery, units. Lottery subject units. Otherwise, you guys are good to go. So I just wanted to say something, because I'm just sensing the table is like cynical. And I don't think that's an appropriate attitude at this stage of it. It's just much too early.
All right, well, to Angel's point, and then I'll get to a couple of hands. I asked him, historically, we don't ask for conditions. But I wanted to anyway, and we asked for 2, and they'll do 1 for sure, and the other one if they can. I think they probably can. It's also good to ask early, in my opinion. The reason I did is because now it's good faith. We feel like, these could be good partners and this and that, but Angel's right. We've done these before, and we asked for nothing. Well, let's remember that. And we've asked for 2 things, and they've agreed to do both. 1 if they can, which hopefully they can. So I am gonna echo his sentiment on that. But again, you're all welcome to do what you want. Asher?
I was gonna make a push.
Okay, then before you do it, Xavier?
Yeah, Angel and I actually thank you for mentioning that, because we actually aligned on this, that this has been on the plate for a long time before a lot of us joined the board maybe. But I want to remind everyone, just beyond the early part of the process, when Sendero Verde came to this body, they started with, like, Angel, correct me if I'm wrong, it's got like 4 economic bands of like portability. Then because of the negotiation of good faith, they expanded. So again, it's conditional support. I think it's fine, and, I just appreciate the conversation, I think we just want good partnership, Joy. And Jack, I understand you championed it a bit, you know, because of various constraints, but I think you understand where we're coming from as a community too, and please work with us in good faith. That's what we ask.
Thank you, very, Andy, very brief, and then we're gonna entertain a motion. Yeah, go ahead. That's what I'm saying.
So just clearly to understand that, let me just say, since you mentioned Senator Linden, it's apples and oranges, because we work with HPD, and I'm just saying this before you came on board. Again, HPD and the community board worked together with to piece out what we wanted to see as a vision there. Okay, and then whoever was gonna get that site control understood exactly what the public of the community wanted to see there in order for them to then get to where we're at right now today. So it's no different from us getting a site control or asking for a condition, because everybody gets conditions, whether we go through it or not. But at least that gives a heads up to the developer what the community wants, and then they can work with whatever they wanna do. The site control is just site control, but on the site control, I don't want them to come back to us later on and say, oh, it had to be this way, you know, less rooms, less this, less that. How many times would that happen to us already? And they come to us after 420, that they get HPD's money, and then you see it on Housing Connect. And where was the input to the community and the even distribution for the community? You don't see that these days. So you know what? This is an opportunity. I'm not against anybody getting site control, but understand that if we're gonna give them some site that is from our community, that at least they're gonna live up and measure up to their words. That's it.
Thank you. All right, Asher, you wanna make a motion?
Motion to provide a conditional letter of support for site control of CM property and proposed mixed-use development at 200 East 127th Street with the conditions of not putting a
No, that they commit to doing the church now, is the entrance.
That they commit to doing the new entrance for the church, and are we doing the 15%?
Yep.
And then
15% community preference units are all for family size units of 2 bedrooms or more, if legally permissible.
I will repeat that for Angel. Angel, you knew you were.
I got it.
like that?
And there was something else. And if there is not, we want to see the statute in writing where it says that cannot be done.
Yeah.
Okay? So second by Rosa, all those in favor?
Aye.
No. You'll vote at full board though. You will get a vote on this. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Any present not voting? The motion passes. All right, thank you.
Thanks for your
Thank you
support
so
all.
much.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Thank you both. All right, this next one should be quick. This came to my attention kind of last minute. It's a request for support regarding, this is an acronym. Basically, it's the Caribbean Cultural, Gary, you said.
Caribbean Cultural Institute, African Diaspora Institute.
Okay, gotcha. So there's a $94,000 that was in the budget or something. They applied a couple days late, and they were told that they could not get the money because of that. So this letter of support is essentially to say that we support them getting that money despite of applying late. Xavier, you might want to make the actual motion. What?
No, they sent an email, it was forwarded to us by Khalid and Dan myself today. I think, I'm sure Grant Marie's on there. We have historically, throughout, Bill's 10 years here, mine, and now yours have supported, the Caribbean Center. And they sent in the email where they're appealing to the budget modification process in the city council. They admitted that, like, they didn't make the excuse, but they've had budget cuts, which is played a small part, but they owned it for being late. They were very responsible in their requests and are seeking to have it restored. And so I think from this perspective, I would appreciate, like, the chair, if it's okay if I make a motion.
Yeah.
Wanted to clarify that, so everyone's aware, because we met with her. At the bid. No, we had a meeting with the bid with 121st Street bid, and she was there in person.
Melody Capote.
She's on board. And she gave us more explanation in regard that there were other organizations that also went in like slightly late. It wasn't an extended period, just a few days. And those organizations received all that funding, and this one in particular did it. And obviously, there's a disparity in regard, and normally she doesn't, this board doesn't give that letter. There's
They don't need it.
support, they don't need it from us. We're giving this letter of support because we feel that it's unfair that this particular organization didn't get treated differently. Why we get treated differently, that's all.
And the fact of the matter is, if they don't get the same 4,000, which would go to an organization in our community, we have no idea if it would go to another. So this really is a no-brainer, in my opinion, unless you could tell me it was going to another thing in this community that you guys preferred, which still would not be the conversation here. So this is simply, they missed the deadline, it's $94,000, they need the money, they've been getting the money. Derek?
Just clarify, who is the letter of support going to?
Letter of support is going to whoever it's giving them the money, so that would be.
Council.
Council, okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Diana.
Sorry, my understanding is that this has already been resolved through the city council's budget negotiating team. You know, it's quite common, you know, if organizations are responsible for submitting reports in a timely basis, and they get notified several times prior to any funding being removed to submit the required documentation, information that's being asked of them on how they use the public dollars. And so it's really unusual that they're just gonna take the money away from them. Apparently there was some sort of mix up, and LC, you know, was able to address it, so they should be getting their money. If you want to give them the letter, you can, but just to put out there that it looks like the money should be coming to them anyway.
Yeah, she told us that there was a time frame for it, and that we responded to the email, and she was gonna use that response.
Well, I would have been happy, I'm happy they got it, I'd have been happy if she had told me that, since I sent her a direct email. She was actually supposed to be here tonight, so now, you know, I could have taken this off the agenda. Thank you, Diana, but I would have taken it off the agenda. I mean, we took the time to send her this email stuff, and they are supposed to come to the board to start talking, so we will now hold them to that. I'm happy they got their money. I wish that, because it made me look a little stupid. Go ahead.
Wait, is that money going to the fire station or to the place?
I don't know, we're not here to, that's not what this discussion is about.
So let's move on.
It's not.
Cater on it then.
What?
It's for catering.
No, but we're not giving them a letter of support. They would gonna get this money without our support. We're just giving them a letter because of a deadline miss. That's it. So like, they never come for this letter. They've done this and they never need a letter because they didn't do it in time. That's all this is. But now they don't need a letter, so we will, we'll just, that's what I'm saying. I wish I knew, but this wouldn't have been on the agenda. Okay. We're gonna move to F, committee discussion regarding qualified disability remote participation procedure. I believe Angel printed it out, so, and you were all emailed it in advance. It's 2 documents. One are the new procedures, and the other one would be the new disability form. The new disability form will be an online document. There's a printed version, just so we could see it here. I'm gonna sum it up really easily. The gist of this is that currently we are, our disability forms are on an honor system, meaning you attest to it, you say I have a qualified disability that prevents me from attending a meeting in person, and we've approved them. I think many of us are aware, and I mean, we've seen it firsthand, that these have not been used properly. They have been most of the time, but there have been instances where people have said they had a disability, and we've seen in the background of their camera, they were at an event or something like that. We've seen, so, you know, I'm not gonna name names or anything like that, but that has happened. I've spoken to the borough, can we just please, thank you. Well, I mean, yeah, but let's just, so I spoke to the borough president's council. I believe it is actually, and I'm not gonna do this, and I don't want to, within my purview to actually request details about the condition. I don't want that. But what this is asking for is that if you have a qualified disability that prevents you from attending a meeting in person, you are required to submit a letter from a licensed medical professional simply stating that you have a disability that prevents you from attending a meeting in person. That's it. And then the time frame in which it is. If it's permanent though, you will need to renew that every 6 months. And if it's not permanent, then it would be an end date. Should that end date change though, then you would need a follow-up letter to do that. This is to, address the issue because the qualified disability form was never meant to address if you had a cold or something like that. An actual disability that would probably have required a medical professional to diagnose this. This is the only way to stop that from happening, and it has been happening. You know, so that's why this was created to actually solve a problem that I think we've been having. I'm open to hearing it. I wrote all this. I shared it with the Borough President's Council, minus one little sentence that had to be changed, which I'm happy to share with you all. It was just, they approved the thing in its entirety as being okay. So we're gonna go to Hans, Derek, Sage, and then Candy.
So I have two questions. One, if someone has, you know, they've submitted their thing, it's reviewed by the chair and the district manager, and it is approved. What happens if they do show up to meetings? Like, I guess, is that something that the documentation would include, that this is like, that it can't keep them from going to any meetings, or it may keep them from it's like a intermittent thing? And then my other question is, like, let's say, you know, that you don't know who the chair and the district manager will be, right, in 100 years from now. You know, like, what if someone disagrees with your decisions? Like, and
well, we're gonna vote on it.
No, you know, like, if someone says, like, you go, oh, this does not qualify, and that person, like, oh, I don't think the chair and the district manager made the right decision.
No, but it will always qualify if they submit the letter. If the letter comes in, we're not asking for anything, so it will automatically be stamped. Just we need the letter. So that, I think that solves that issue. There's no ambiguity on that.
Understood. Okay. Good.
Oh,
yeah, those are the two.
Oh, great. Okay, beautiful. That was easy. Sage?
I would request an opinion from the member of President's Council as to whether these medical forms that we would submit to you would be part of the public record and subject to a FOIL request.
They're not. They're only for me and Angel. That's how it's been. Angel, how have they been handled up to now? Because then why would that have happened?
Medical forms at all.
No, but I was told it would only go to the two of us. If you would like that to be found out, we could find out.
I think that's important.
Okay. Well, what I will say is that they approved everything as it was. So I feel like if that was needed, I already consulted with the council. I can send you all the email right now if you want. And they would have said that should have been added.
Clarity stage is that there's no detail in the form we're asking. So we don't want the doctor to say why.
Just
simply to state. So he doesn't have to give the reasoning behind it. He's just saying there's a permanent disability.
Yeah, but maybe it is a private
the same thing you're
matter
doing.
as to whether somebody
But we're not getting
has a particular kind of doctor.
You're understanding we're not getting that particular information. It would be a doctor.
Do you understand that the Borough President's Council said I can? You do understand? Yeah, but you do understand that I led this conversation with saying I could actually ask for more detail. So that they've said that can be done. The Borough President's Council said that. So I'm actually asking for less than we are, because the idea is not to know what's wrong with someone. It's to simply know that they can't attend the meeting in person. Okay, that's all it is. So, I mean, I really don't see the issue with this. When you're on a community board, you volunteer. One of those things is a commitment to time and showing up and doing work. And a lot of times the virtual participation amounts to almost no work being done. And I'm okay with people that actually have that, but we need to start to address these things, and we can't chase our tail in a circle all the time and not move things forward the way they need to be either. You know, and this was shared a couple of days ago, and so I'm going to start asking that these things come in ahead of time so that when we come to the meeting, we can have these answers so we don't need to push things back all the time. I'll let you say one other thing and then Angel, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say I'm just opposed to this.
You can be.
I'm in favor of people coming in person. I usually hear in person. And I don't have a recurring, qualified disability as far as I'm aware at this time. I just don't think it's worth disclosing our private medical stuff to you.
I wish you didn't have to disclose it to me. I happen to be in this position. I don't care. My goal is to get people here.
Or
in
whoever
person.
the chair is.
Well, you said you, so.
Yeah, I mean,
feel a little
you-
personal.
you and- sorry.
Okay, look, you have your opinion, and if we make a motion, you can vote that way. I disagree, but then again, I'm only one vote, and we don't even have to make a motion, so I know, I can see the hands, thank you. Angel, go ahead.
I think it's worth checking back with general counsel, not to dispute what you have already been advised, but the question about whether stuff is foilable. Materials at a public agency are generally foilable. So I think we should double check on that and also ask if there's any, and I'm not an expert in this area, but it was brought up to me by, a colleague, whether there's any like HIPAA sensitivity. And it's not to say we shouldn't have a policy and a clearer policy and a clearer expectation for this, for the disability, for the disability exemption for folks, but that in doing what we should be doing, that we're crossing all the T's, right? Like I am responsible in the office for safeguarding people's personal identifying information. So that's another hurdle that I have to also check. I have to, irrespective of whether I'm in favor or supportive of us having this policy. Like I have to do that. I think it's excessive, but it's the rule. So I think it's worth, running it through those three filters again, just so that when we have something necessary in place, that we're not tripping up, unintentionally.
Okay, I mean, listen, again, I don't mind, but wouldn't the Borough President's Council have said that this requirement would be a HIPAA violation? Like, that would be like item number one, like you would say, no, you can't do this. So, I mean, if you're an employer, you're allowed to ask for a letter from a doctor, if somebody doesn't come in person. We can do that, fine. Foilable, because I would say if it wasn't for that one, we could make a condition that if it isn't foilable, that it's approved as it is. But, we can wait till September. Go ahead, Xavier.
So thank you for doing the work. I know you and I had.
Well, it's frustrating, because I gotta say something, I'm sorry, thank you for that, because it is frustrating to write all of this and then send it and get no comments till the meeting. That is becoming very exceedingly frustrating at this table.
And I feel your frustration. My comments were really covered when you're not releasing the actual medical records and what the disability now. I have no problem, and I think it's something just to use a general comment that we have to be more open dealing with an issue. I think, whether you suffer from severe anxiety or if you're going through chemotherapy and then you would not be allowed in this room. It would be advised against you being in this room until you've gotten your immune system and recovered from it. I think the HIPAA portion, having worked in my father's clinic for years, I can tell you, as long as you're not disclosing, I think, to what the condition is, you still, even if a letter is submitted, I think the FOIL issue, I didn't think about that. So it's an interesting thing, but I have no problem with this on its current iteration. I think if we get clarification on that and to speak to the general counsel, and I'm glad you have a good relation. We've seen that not all general counsels are created equal or have the forethought on that. I had a wonderful relationship with Adele Bartlett, who disagreed with so many other positions from others and would have probably have raised this to you already in advance. So it's no fault of yours. You've done a good job on this.
I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
I like to have things in advance so we can move forward. That's fine.
No,
It looks like we're gonna table it, but,
No,
Asher
I'm
and then
saying
Nelson. No, I appreciate
It's just kind of.
it.
I
No,
think
you
it's-
should speak though, because
I
this
think
feedback
it's-
will be helpful for
I
September.
think it's fine, once again, like Xavier said, just making sure it's not foilable, but this is exactly what I have said a few months ago, so I'm fine with it.
Okay, thank you, Milsa, and then Rosa.
Two things. The first thing is, and I apologize if I should have commented before, just the way I think it was very well written. A letter from a licensed medical professional must accompany this request. I think that this part that's on the bottom, this letter should not include diagnosis, treatment plan. I would put it after that sentence, so as the medical professional reads that. Is there value once you check about whether
Foil and that, yeah.
Is there a thought maybe having the doctor just fill out this form? Where the doctor could just do a facial check and say with a, with a stamp. Where you would say that, this patient is advised, whatever it is, not to attend meetings for the period of this and this. Then you only hand it in one document. And then by that time, you know whether any attachments are
Good
good
idea.
enough, but this way you don't have so much paper, because you're handling one form now. Right? And if I remember when I constantly have to submit for my leg, so I just thought that maybe there might be a thought for one doc. That's handled.
Good idea. Rosa?
I have, those things. One, I don't believe, maybe I just missed it. Where Derek asked about, filling out the disability form. And then you showing up in person to the meeting. I didn't hear the response. If a member is filling out the disability, I'm not gonna be at tomorrow's meeting. But then, shows on Zoom for the first half an hour. Then comes in person for that 1 hour and then leaves to continue the meeting in the other half an hour.
I did ask about this. I haven't answered.
Good. My second question, sorry, my beautiful. My second question is, maybe, but I wanna ask about, what if, because it's really real for women, cramps, like what if I have like this terrible cramp and I do consider it like horrible, take pills and everything, I am able to request a doctor's note and whatever, like how long do I have? Like if the meeting is tonight and I wake up with these cramps early in the morning, like the doctor can tell me the letter today, they can give me the letter tomorrow, like what, like what
If you
do I
was,
do?
okay, you know what?
That is very specific.
Yeah, I know, but, and so there is a list, I think, which I put somewhere. But if you'd like me to, if it's not there and you want me to find out if that could be added to the list, I have no problem with that. Okay, and then to your first question, so I did at the last borough board, I think, ask in person, and I can ask in writing about, and I think the issue is really not if they attend the whole meeting, it's like, and we've seen it where somebody's, coming in late or leaving early, so it's like, and there may be instances where the disability does cause a certain timing or whatever, right? That could happen. They said to me that they understood though that could also be being misused, right? It's all possible, but that then I may have to request actual information to the condition, which I don't want to do. So I hear you. The problem is, and we can think moving forward, the problem is we have that and a bigger problem too, I think, right? So like this can address this hopefully with no invasiveness, right? Assuming it can't be foilable and all of that, which I'm thinking it probably can't, because people that work for city agencies that would submit letters, stuff like this, if they couldn't, it wouldn't be foiled as well. So I don't know why this would be treated any differently. Find that out. To that one, I will get clarity again, but if it requires us to get actual detail to condition, then I would be strongly against doing that and be willing to just have that happen. Hopefully, not that much, or if there's another way to pursue that without being invasive, we can look into that. Because I do understand what you're saying. I do.
Everyone will do it.
We'll cross that bridge, imaginary or not, when we get to it. Candy?
So piggybacking off of what Rosa's saying, right? You have people that suffer migraine headaches. I do once in a while. So all of a sudden we have to, how are you gonna get then a doctor's note when you're not even?
Because some of these things are not a qualified disability.
No,
So
you're not gonna be able to come to the meeting.
Well, that doesn't matter. Right now, if you have a cold, that is not a qualified disability. There's a very specific things that are qualified disabilities. It's the list I believe I put there, but I will get a definitive list. So I believe there are things that are not included on that, such as a cold or a headache. But right, so what we will do to make this fair is the list will be completely exhaustive of everything that qualifies, okay? And whatever doesn't, won't be on it. But you will need the letter, because the thing is, the disability will require the letter. So there's no problem. So if you have a migraine and it's a disability, you will have to find a way to get the letter. That's just the way it is, because we can make them, then we might as well get rid of this again, because then there'll be continuous ways to, we're trying to create a system here. Here's the thing, okay, and I'm gonna try to say this as best as I can. We know it's being abused, right? We have attendance problems galore, right? And we're volunteering to be here. So there comes a point where if you're volunteering to be here to help your community, but you consistently can't show up and you can't, then why are you keeping a seat on this board? So that's what we're trying to address here, because me personally, I'd rather have 25 members here who want to show up and work than 50 where 25 don't. And I'm not saying that's happening, but it has happened, and we do need to address that. And this doesn't make me very popular, but I think it's what's right, so that's okay.
And I commend you on that. Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
But can we also put the owners too on letting the borough president's office know, or whoever appointed them, to let them know this individual that you appointed is not coming in or adhering to the qualifications when we appointed you, knowing what are the, what were the criterias when you appointed?
That's
Not
separate.
just putting down all the burden on us as well. That should be a partnership.
And that's a separate, it's kind of the same, but separate. I can look into that.
Not
You already have an answer.
It's on us to vote them off.
You know the answer.
I know the answers.
They told us it's our
Say
responsibility.
is, it's not just vote people off just like that. It's let the borough president.
So this is where we have that ability. I'm sorry, because I have an answer for you. Unfortunately, if it's midterm, we have to vote them off. When they get up for reappointment, then we do have the ability to comment. I'm just gonna be honest without saying what comments were. We had 15 applications for 11 seats, so there wasn't much of an ability to make any input whatsoever. They can do a better job of, instead of reading us a list of like names and asking us if we know people, which is ridiculous, because I don't presume to know everyone in this community, but I guess they assume that it's supposed to. So they can fix their process. There's things that can be done. That's a separate conversation, but I understand it is adjacent, but we can look into that. Asher?
Just quick, because I think this might solve a lot of the questions we're having. A disability for this form is a reoccurring ailment that a doctor signs off on, correct?
Correct.
Okay, there we are.
Thank you, Asher. But, okay, Jose?
Sorry. I'm saying it's long. For the foiling event, I mean, anything that has to do with individual privacy can't foil or will be redacted. Just I do a lot of work with the state and the city and contracts, and every once in a while something gets foiled. You actually get a notification and you get asked, particularly anything to do with an individual privacy gets completely redacted. You can request whatever you want to be redacted, but I mean, we can definitely, I guess.
We can wait,
check
yeah,
it, but just to be clear, like, that's not how that works in that regard, because you will be notified when there's a foil and you can ask particularly things to be removed. I recently got for like a contract that was like 15 years old. I forgot about it. And I was just like, I'm fine. But they asked.
I'm gonna get to Derek. Look, we are going to table this. I'm going to get you guys all the information you need well in advance. If you have additional questions or concerns in the meantime, I'm happy to address those as well. Remember that when we have all this information, we can vote no to this, right? This has to happen. So I'm just asking that in September, we have everything to take a vote. So we either put this to rest and we do what we've been doing, or we do it this way. And we can always change our minds down the road. That's the beautiful thing about this. We can wake up next month and go, we don't like that anymore, and change it, right? We don't want to do that, but we can. All right, Derek, go ahead.
I think the other thing that's important to consider is like it needs to be something that prevents you from participating in person, but you can participate remotely. So like if you're lying in bed and you can't speak or open your eyes, like you're absent, like you can't be at the meeting. And so I think like that's the other thing.
Well, we already have that though.
Right, but I'm saying like I think that's relevant is like, like you could, like if you couldn't participate online, then whether or not you have this isn't relevant. Like you need to be absent because like you can't participate in the meeting. You can't have the camera on, you can't speak, you can't participate, you know, so I think like I think that's important too. Like, we're not talking about, like you said, the cold or the whatever, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to that point, that's why we've been doing it, the cameras off thing per open meetings law. So now people are being marked absent when their cameras aren't on. Granted, if you have something going on, you want to turn it off for a minute because we can step on and use the bathroom, we accept that. But if the camera's off in a 2-hour meeting for more than 10 minutes, you should be absent, in my opinion. I think that we've all agreed to that. That was put in place, by the way back. We just didn't do it. It's been, we actually voted on that and we just didn't do it.
You actually said that thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't make all this up. I'm like enforcing what was voted on overwhelmingly. But we didn't really want to do it. Candy. Last one, by the way, and we're gonna move on.
Great. No, I'm glad you're taking a movement on this because we also see how people constantly, even new members, and we don't even know who they are. We don't see them or anything like that. And I appreciate all that. The thing is, right now, you're not worrying about seeing what anybody's issues are or anything like that.
Not right now,
You just want to
never.
control the way it's being abused of, the abuse of
Yeah.
this whole disability thing
Yep.
going, right? And we're just trying to find a way, a middle ground where we can make it work. But this is my thing. This is right now while you guys in office. My concern can be that an unintended impact with whoever's gonna be the next in leadership may abuse of that information as a privilege to then probably also, can
They can't do
expose-
that.
disclose
They can't do that.
No.
Well, you mean disclose their condition?
Well, no, but it's
Then
just
that's because of
abuse of,
Well, because here's the thing, right?
it's
We're,
just abuse of the whole, having.
the form, you kind of know if someone has a form, right? Because if you go on the attendance records and you see they were present and they weren't there, they must have had a form, right? So there's no way to really avoid that, right? Now, that the new chair, whenever that happens, you guys might throw me out next month, but whatever that is, they can't just start doing that because we took a vote to do it this way. They would only be able to do it this way. It would require a vote of the board to then tell that chair that they could actually ask for the conditions, and then that would also be if it was even legally permissible. So this shouldn't matter, no matter who the chair is, because they can't get that information. If they requested that, they would actually have a big problem with the rest of the board. And I want to just say one last thing, and I'm going to go to Angel and we'll wrap this up, is this wasn't, I want to make this abundantly clear here. I didn't decide to do this. I've been hearing a lot of members wanting this to be looked into. Like, I don't wake up in the morning and go, how can I do things here? There's some things, I think they're helpful, not this. I think we've seen, I don't really care about the internal thing. Board oversight, I moved a lot of this stuff that used to be here because I'm not interested in it. I like the stuff we talked about at the beginning of this meeting, except that that's when not having any money. But, so this was like a request, and then we'll know if it was really by demand or not, when we vote on it. So it's as simple as that. I personally don't like it, but I don't care. I feel like we can be an effective board regardless, and I will do my best to make sure of that. Angel, go ahead.
Just wanted to add here, because you guys are all friends and you won't say it about each other. We go through a lot of hoops and spend a lot of time, like I've aged a lot at this executive committee meeting, talking about this stuff and attendance, God help me, because people just are not respectful of the board and their fellow members, period. That's it. Jumping through a whole bunch of hoops, writing a whole bunch of words to figure out, get people to behave themselves. Show up. You don't want to come, don't come. But it can't just fall on whoever happens to be happens to be the chair. Right? Because then you can always point like, I don't like him, she doesn't like me. Nonsense. The entire body needs to help enforce the rules. Because otherwise, Angel's always ratting me out for being late, or them being strict about the rule, or show up or don't show up. This is a lot of wasted time. A lot of wasted time over the years. Speaking of, now it's this, and before it was attendance. That's it. Simple. If you guys can enforce that, then we're good. And we're getting into people's personal stuff or whatever, and like it's absurd that you have to be told to put your camera on, to put your mic on, to read your homework, to do. Come on, buddy. Like, come, show up, do your work. That's it. Like, it's entirely too long on the same stupid stuff. Come do your job, please, so that we can focus on real things that are affecting the community. The community is not affected by the disability form. People are starving, people are homeless, people are drug addicted, people are struggling with all kinds of things, and we're talking about a disability form, and we're talking about whether one of these lazy members can turn their camera on, or whether they can show up on time. Give me a damn break. Just because it's your friend does not excuse them showing up an hour and a half late to the meeting, and I have to sit here talking about nonsense. But the same clown every month, an hour and a half, and everybody sees them and nobody says anything. So are we serious or are we not serious? If we're serious, then do it. If you're not serious, then let's stop doing this. Right? Let's stop doing this, and we could have left 2 hours ago.
Maybe an hour, but yeah.
Maybe an hour because you guys got heated with the thing, right? But I'm saying, I'm like, come on, this is a lot of spinning in circles.
I agree, and I've said this, well, maybe not quite like that, I would, but, some of the most, this table is the most, usually some of the most committed members on this board. And we've spent countless time of our own wasting it on people who don't show up.
Exactly.
Okay, so like, let's be mindful of that, like, I agree with him, it's absolutely ridiculous. We will table this and we will take a position in September, and, I'll put the motion on the floor myself, and you guys can vote, but we're not gonna not have a vote on this. You guys vote how you want. What, is there anything left on this? Now I'm all, let me see this thing. Oh, no, I just wanna, Clarice, you wanted to share, just like, it was an announcement, go ahead.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm the president of the Community Education Council for District 4. And I know that you all have been having lots of conversations about the schools, buildings, all the things. I will have the Office of District Planning coming to my next CEC meeting, which is on August 12th at the Legal Puente Complex. You can also Zoom in, that's fine. We have hybrid comments, so you can make public comments at my meetings and ask questions. And so feel free to come and participate. There will be a lot of changes in the next coming years in our schools. One, because of low enrollment. Two, because we have 3 charter schools that have actually closed in our district. And Success is actually also moving from one of our buildings. So we are very excited about that. We are also thinking a lot about what new schools or rebranding has to happen within our district. Because there are asks from the community, particularly around programs for kids with disabilities, as well as a consortium high school, which would be a high school that's focused on performance-based assessments. We have been at the forefront as well on all of the ed tech conversations, AI, all of that. And so we would love to continue to collaborate with you all in terms of policies that are affecting our kids.
All right, after like 20
Really
seconds.
gonna make it so quick. Yeah, no, they come to every single one of my meetings, so, if you would like to have conversations with Clarice and the superintendent from every single one of my meetings, C meetings, when I go to them, those are the perfect time to come and ask them. So they're looking for our community outreach, and it's a lot more impactful when it's not just the dogs. So I would love for board members to share. Thank you.
You have a slide for them?
Thank you both.
We have a website, so cdcd4.org. All of our meetings are there, the links to log into our meetings, as well as the 19 resolutions we passed this last year, on all things.
Okay, all right, any, old business? No, new business? No, Angel, take the roll.
Jose Altamirano.
Present.
Dan Brija.
Present.
Rosa Diaz. Sage Mason.
Present.
Nelson Rama. Ashley Rodriguez.
Present.
Xavier Santiago. Derek Stampone.
Present.
Candy Rivas West.
Present.
All right, meeting's adjourned at 9:43 PM. Thank you, everyone.